Chapter 2497. When Hong Yi heard these words, he slowly collapsed to the ground. Who the hell is this person? He said all this as if he had seen it with his own eyes. These little tricks of yours are all leftover from us. Call that friend of yours out. Qin Feiyang said lightly. You'd better not mess around. Otherwise, I'll have that friend of mine spread the recording of our conversation. Hong Yi roared. You want to fight to the death? Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and looked at the five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon understood and forcibly pulled Hong Yi's space divine item out of his body. Then, the five-clawed golden dragon waved its claws and the space divine item shattered. After the space divine item shattered, a middle-aged man in black rolled out in a sorry state. In his hand, he was holding an image crystal. The five-clawed golden dragon stepped forward and smashed the image crystal with its claws. Now, what can you use to threaten me? Qin Feiyang looked at Hong Yi with a smile. Hong Yi's eyes were filled with despair. The middle-aged man in black also looked miserable. His cultivation was about the same as Hong Yi's. Facing the five-clawed golden dragon, he was like an ant facing an elephant. If you had spread the recorded video at the beginning, it would have been spread in the Dragon God Palace by now. Unfortunately, you were too greedy and wanted to use this video to threaten us. Of course. You definitely didn't expect that I would be able to guess that he was hiding in your space divine item. Qin Feiyang looked at Hong Yi and smiled. The middle-aged man in black immediately said, Li Buer, this has nothing to do with me. He instigated me. Let me go. What nonsense are you talking about? You were the one who suspected him first, and you even came up with the idea to let me test him. Hong Yi immediately glared at the middle-aged man in black. You're slandering me. Li Buer, you have to believe me. I was really instigated by him. Don't worry, I won't mention this to anyone. Please be magnanimous and let me go. The middle-aged man in black was lying on the ground, crying and begging. Cripple him as well. Qin Feiyang looked at the five-clawed golden dragon and said. The five-clawed golden dragon waved its dragon claw, and a streak of divine power instantly entered the black-clothed middle-aged man's chi. The middle-aged man let out a blood-curdling scream. His face was filled with fear. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the two of them to the castle. He then transmitted his voice to Fire Lotus, don't let them die too quickly. Understood. Fire Lotus responded. Qin Feiyang smiled and opened an altar. He turned to Madman and said, Senior brother, let's go. The five-clawed golden dragon coiled around Qin Feiyang's wrist. The madman waved his hand and sent Qin Feiyang into the spatial divine item before stepping onto the altar. Whether it was the madman or Qin Feiyang, this was just a small interlude. In a huge stone room. Qin Feiyang stood in the center and looked around. The stone room was very large, at least a few hundred feet. Not only were there all kinds of furniture, there were also some small green potted plants. After knowing each other for so long, this was the first time Qin Feiyang came to the madman's spatial divine item. The ground was also extremely clean. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at the four walls. He discovered that there were actually many tightly shut stone doors. Could it be that there was more than one space? Qin Feiyang curiously walked in front of a stone door and pushed it hard, but found that he couldn't open it. He walked to the other stone doors and tried, but he couldn't open them either. Not simple. He already knew that the madman's spatial divine item was definitely not ordinary. Now that he saw it, it was indeed so. But what was behind these doors? Shua. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's vision blurred and in the next moment, he appeared on top of a mountain. Qin Feiyang curiously looked at the madman beside him and asked, Senior brother, what level is your spatial divine item? You want to know? The madman said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. I won't tell you. The madman laughed in ridicule. Qin Feiyang helplessly sent the madman to the castle, then opened an altar and jumped up. Black Tortoise Mountain. At this moment, in a valley, a group of people gathered together, their eyes filled with anticipation. The valley was huge. There were also many people, estimated to be more than 1,000. But when more than 1,000 people gathered together, there was no noise at all, it was extremely quiet. At the front, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, and Jiang Dafei stood together, all of them silent. Shua. Suddenly, a figure descended in the sky above the valley. At this moment, everyone raised their heads in unison and looked at that figure. Greetings, young lord. Greetings, young master. Jiang Dafei and the other two immediately bowed. He is the young lord? The others looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd and took a facial restoration pill, restoring his true appearance. It's the young lord. It's exactly the same as what the divine general said. Greetings, young lord. After seeing Qin Feiyang restore his true appearance, the group of people knelt down and kowtowed. Get up. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yes. Everyone got up and looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. They were no stranger to the name Qin Feiyang, but it was the first time they saw him in person. This was a bit different from the young lord they imagined. The young lord in their imagination was the kind of person who was unapproachable, cold and ruthless. But now, the young lord standing in front of them looked very gentle, without any arrogance or coercion. Young master, this is for you. Li Changhe and the other two flew in front of Qin Feiyang. Wang Daoyuan took out the twin dragon pendant and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang put away the twin dragon pendant. When he gave the twin dragon pendant to Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, it was to prove that they were his subordinates. Now that they were here, he naturally didn't need the twin dragon pendant anymore. Qin Feiyang asked, how many people are there in total? Except for Fan Yunzhang, everyone is here. A total of 1,198 people. Li Changhe. With 1,198 people, including Fan Yunzhang and Jiang Dafei, there were exactly 1,200 people in total. As expected, there were spies of the Dragon Slayer Palace in the 1,200 cities in the north. But Qin Feiyang knew that this was not all. There must be people of the Dragon Slayer Palace hiding in the major cities. It was just that these people usually hid in the city or in the wilderness, and no one knew about them. How's your cultivation? Qin Feiyang asked. Jiang Dafei said, between the half-step supreme and the perfected ninth heaven state. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at the 1,198 people below, and said with a smile, it's been hard on you to hide in the major cities all these years. It's not hard at all. As long as we can destroy the dragons, it's worth sacrificing our lives. The people below immediately roared. I don't agree with that. The dragons must be destroyed, but you have to live. I, Qin Feiyang, will never do a deal that kills 1,000 enemies and loses 800 of my own men. You have to protect yourselves even more if you follow me. I don't want anyone to sacrifice themselves for the Dragon Slayer Palace, for me, Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Yes. Everyone bowed in response, and their hearts were filled with warmth. No one had ever cared about them so much. How lucky. They had met such a benevolent and righteous young lord. Okay, let's get down to business. I believe Li Changhe and the others have also told you my rules. Qin Feiyang said. We're willing. Everyone bowed. Qin Feiyang smiled and began to make seals with both hands. Slave seals quickly appeared and swept toward the heads of more than 1,000 people. After about a few hundred breaths, the slave seals were finally completed. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, "I control you. Do you have any complaints?" "No." The group of people didn't hesitate at all and answered very straightforwardly. "Since you're willing to follow me, I definitely won't treat you badly. I won't ask for your names. After all, there are too many people. I might not be able to remember all of them. But I promise you here that when I succeed and retire, I will return your freedom. Also, no matter who it is, as long as you reach the perfected paragon or the 9 heaven stage, I will help you open the door of potential." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The door of potential. Everyone was wild with joy when they heard this. This was something they had never expected at all. It was simply a great fortune. Qin Feiyang turned to Jiang Dafei and the other two and said, "Count how many perfected paragon and perfected paragon gods there are now." Then, Qin Feiyang entered the Black Tortoise realm and looked at Fire Lotus. "Immediately prepare the Yin-Yang Chaos Divine Pills for me, as well as all kinds of medicinal herbs to open the door of potential. The more the better." "Okay." Fire Lotus nodded. Outside the valley. "Come. Perfected paragon and perfected paragon gods, step forward." Jiang Dafei looked at the crowd below and said. Immediately, figures walked out one after another. There were men and women, old and young. Jiang Dafei said again, "Perfected paragon gods, stand on the right. Perfected paragon gods, stand on the left." The group of people walked to the left and right. It was very orderly. There was no disturbance at all. Soon, the people on both sides stood in place. Jiang Dafei and the other two counted. There were 150 perfected paragon gods. There were 300 perfected paragon gods. A total of 450 people. Then, the three of them reported this matter to Qin Feiyang. Although Qin Feiyang was in the castle, he could clearly hear the voices outside. Outside. Time passed breath by breath. About 10 breaths later, Qin Feiyang appeared in the sky above the valley again. He looked extremely haggard. In his hand, he was holding a Qiankuan bag. "Give them the Yin-Yang Chaos Pills and help them open the door of potential." Qin Feiyang threw the Qiankuan bag to Jiang Dafei and the other two. The three of them took the Qiankuan bag and looked down. They were shocked. How could he refine so many pills so quickly? Right. There was a time array in the castle. A day outside was 100 years inside. Although only a few breaths had passed outside, a long time had passed inside the castle. And refining these pills continuously had indeed exhausted Qin Feiyang. "It's actually a divine pill. I didn't expect young lord to be able to refine divine pills." When they saw the pills that Li Changhe and the other two took out, they were all extremely shocked. "Now you know how powerful young lord is." Jiang Dafei smiled and said, "All of you, come up and receive your Yin-Yang Chaos Pills." The perfected paragon gods and perfected paragon gods flew up one after another and received a Yin-Yang Chaos Pill. These Yin-Yang Chaos Pills can raise your cultivation by 1 minor level. If you're lucky, it might even raise your cultivation by 2 minor levels. Qin Feiyang smiled. Raise your cultivation to the paragon god level? There's still a possibility of increasing by 2 minor realms? Thank you, young lord. The 450 people immediately bowed and thanked him. The other hundreds of people naturally looked envious. Don't worry. When you break through to the perfected paragon god level, you'll all have them. As for the people of the Empyrean realm, the young lord said earlier that he would also help you open the door of potential. Li Changhe smiled. When the hundreds of people heard this, their eyes were filled with anticipation. Chapter 2498. Looking at everyone's reaction, Qin Feiyang was also very satisfied. The first step of winning people's hearts had basically been achieved. Qin Feiyang looked down at the five-clawed golden dragon on his wrist and said with a smile, "Set up a barrier." After all, Black Tortoise Mountain was outside Holy Dragon City. And there were many fierce beasts nearby, as well as some people who were training. When everyone broke through later, it would definitely cause a big commotion. So, he had to set up a barrier to isolate the commotion. Hearing this, the five-clawed golden dragon soared into the sky and turned into 100 feet long. Divine power surged out, and a barrier suddenly appeared, covering the entire valley. Divine Dragon. It's a five-clawed golden dragon. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Li Changhe and the other two were shocked. When did the young master subdue a five-clawed golden dragon? It's a companion that has just followed me not long ago. It has a basic immortal realm cultivation. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Basic immortal realm. Everyone's eyes trembled. This young master was indeed a dragon among men. Even a basic immortal realm five-clawed golden dragon was under his command. Let's begin. Qin Feiyang said, then sat cross-legged in the void and closed his eyes to rest. The 450 people also took the yin and yang chaos pills one after another. Boom! After a while, waves of aura burst out uncontrollably. A group of people broke through one after another. There was no doubt that the 300 perfected immortals had all broken through the shackles of the Nine Heavens realm. As long as they opened the door of potential, they could break through to the half-step Nine Heavens realm. However, only 30 or so of the 150 perfected immortals were lucky enough to soar all the way to the perfected immortals and break through the shackles of the Nine Heavens realm. As for the remaining 100 or so people, although they were a bit unlucky and didn't break through the shackles of the Nine Heavens realm, they were all perfected immortals. Next. Of course, it was to help these people open the door of potential. The five-clawed golden dragon released its pressure. The doors of potential of the 450 people were opened one after another. Those who could enter the Dragon Slayer Palace had extraordinary willpower. Halfway through, they only rested for a short while. About half an hour. The 450 people had broken through the ultimate immortal realm. Looking at the potential mark on their chests, they were all incoherent with excitement. Following closely. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang, who was recuperating with his eyes closed. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. All of this was given to him by the young lord. In the future, the young supremacy would be their sky. Whatever the young supremacy told them to do, they would do. The remaining few hundred people clenched their fists tightly. In order to unlock the door of potential, they had to work hard in their cultivation from now on. Sir, it's done. Li Changhe walked up to Qin Feiyang and respectfully handed the Qiankuan bag to Qin Feiyang. There were still many pills left inside. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, and the fatigue between his brows disappeared. He glanced at the Qiankuan bag and smiled faintly. Give it to Jiang Dafei. In the future, if you need it, go to him. Thank you, young lord. Those who hadn't unlocked their potential bowed and thanked him. It turned out that the young master had already refined the elixirs they needed. Hearing this, Li Changhe handed the Qiankuan bag to Jiang Dafei and reminded him, Brother Jiang, the pills inside are priceless. Take good care of them. Don't worry. I'll protect these pills with my life. Jiang Dafei said solemnly. That's too exaggerated. But there's no certainty. If these pills are exposed to the world, it won't be good for you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Jiang Dafei was slightly stunned, then shook his head and smiled bitterly. That seemed to be the case. Apart from the yin-yang chaos pill, the rest of the pills were all for unlocking the door of potential. Once exposed, one could imagine what kind of disaster it would bring. Thinking of this Qinquan bag was still a hot potato. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said, "Now, tell me, how many city lords have been replaced?" The three of them were stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang, looking a little nervous. Qin Feiyang frowned. "Don't tell me that you haven't taken action after so long." "Please forgive me, sir. We really haven't taken action yet. Because we've been contacting everyone during this period. Although you gave us the list, the north is too big after all. Moreover, we have to find and confirm one by one. It really took a lot of effort." The three of them lowered their heads. Qin Feiyang frowned. Jiang Dafei said, "Young lord, don't worry, we'll start the plan later and complete the task as soon as possible." "Then what plan do you have?" Qin Feiyang asked. The three of them stiffened and shook their heads. "Not yet." Qin Feiyang said, "Not yet, or can't you think of the most appropriate plan?" Nothing can escape young master's eyes. "Indeed, we can't think of the most appropriate plan." Wang Daoyuan smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "Then tell me about the plans you originally thought of." The first step of replacing the city lords is to kill the current city lords. The second step is to find a way for those present to take the position of city lord. But compared to the second step, the first step is more difficult. Because there are too many people, if the city lords die one after another, then no matter how careless the dragons are, they will see through it. And if we take it slow and spend hundreds or thousands of years, it will be too much of a waste of time. The three of them said. "That makes sense." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "Then we can create all kinds of accidents. If the city lords die one after another, it shouldn't attract too much attention. That won't work. Once or twice can be an accident, but if it happens too many times, it won't be an accident anymore. The problem we are most worried about is that once the dragons notice, it will affect our overall plan. Or even fail." Li Changhe. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "This matter really can't be noticed by the dragons." Li Changhe sighed. "That's why we haven't been able to find the most suitable way." Wang Daoyuan and Jiang Dafei also looked like they couldn't make up their minds. Looking at the three of them, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Jiang Dafei and the other two looked at each other, then looked at Qin Feiyang. "Sir is resourceful, he should be able to think of the safest and most efficient way." A moment later, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and with a wave of his hand, Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and Feng Daji appeared. The three of them looked at Qin Feiyang with a puzzled expression. Qin Feiyang looked at Feng Daji and said, "How long will it take for your divine body to recover?" Feng Daji said, "It will take a while." "That doesn't matter. Go to the various city lords' mansions. With the strength of your divine soul, no one can stop you." Qin Feiyang laughed. Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion and asked, "Qin Dage, do you have a plan?" "An five-clawed golden dragon, you and Li Changhe go together. Hua Yi, you and Wang Daoyuan go together. Fire Lotus, you and Jiang Dafei go together. Feng Daji, you come with me. We will split into 4 groups and loot the medicinal fields of the various city lords' mansions as fast as possible. Of course, we will also kill the city lords of the various city lords' mansions." Qin Feiyang said. "So blatant?" Everyone looked at each other. "That's exactly what we need to do. That way, the dragon clan will think that our target is the herb field and not those city lords." Qin Feiyang laughed. "So that's how it is. On the surface, we are looting the medicinal fields, but in the dark, we are killing the current city lords. At that time, even if the city lords are all dead, the dragons will only think that they were killed by us when they were guarding the medicinal fields. Although it will cause a big sensation, it can cover our true purpose. Sir is indeed sir, to be able to think of such a wonderful plan." This subordinate admires you. Li Changhe cupped his hands and smiled. Wang Daoyuan, Jiang Dafei, and more than 1,000 people below also had a look of admiration. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Changhe and the other two and asked, "The three of you have the coordinates of the various cities, right?" "Yes. You are only responsible for leading the way. Leave the rest to Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and the five-clawed golden dragon," Qin Feiyang said. Li Changhe and the other two nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd below and smiled, "I also need someone to lead the way. Who knows the coordinates of all the cities?" "Me. Me too. Young lord, I also know." Dozens of people below raised their hands and shouted. Qin Feiyang glanced at the dozens of people, and finally looked at a black-clothed man and said, "You." This man was at the peak of the Nine Heavens realm and could be of help. The man flew in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed. "Subordinate Lei Bing greets young lord." "Which city are you from?" Qin Feiyang asked. Lei Bing said, "Serpent City." "Serpent City?" Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and muttered, "It sounds familiar." "Young lord, Serpent City is as famous as Holy Dragon City. It is one of the three largest cities in the north," Jiang Dafei said. "I see." Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. When the princess and the patriarch of the dragons pretended to be Lin Yi and her disciple and looted the treasure vaults of various cities, they also looted Serpent City. So, he had also heard of this city. "Well, take Feng Daji and me to Serpent City." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes." Lei Bing nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and the five-clawed golden dragon, and said with a smile, "Then let's get started. After we are done, we will meet here. Remember to kill those messengers. In this way, the people of the City Lord's mansion will not be able to contact the dragons immediately, and we will have plenty of time." Hua Yi laughed, "I haven't encountered such a fun thing in a long time. Wang Daoyuan, let's go. Then let's go to Snow Dragon City." Wang Daoyuan smiled, changed his appearance slightly, and opened an altar. Snow Dragon City, Serpent City, and Holy Dragon City were the three largest cities in the north. As soon as the two left, Li Changhe looked at the five-clawed golden dragon and said with a hoarse smile, "Then let's go to Sun Moon City." "Whatever. Anyway, they are just ants," the five-clawed golden dragon said proudly. Qin Feiyang looked at the five-clawed golden dragon and said, "You also have to change your appearance." Chapter 2499. Why? The five-clawed golden dragon asked. "You'll follow me to the Dragon God Palace in the future, so you can't reveal your true identity," Qin Feiyang said. "All right." The five-clawed golden dragon nodded and transformed into a human. Then, his divine power condensed into a mask and he put it on his face. Li Changhe also changed his appearance. He activated an altar and left with the five-clawed golden dragon. As soon as the five-clawed golden dragon left, the barrier around the valley disappeared. Jiang Dafei also took a phantom elixir and changed his appearance slightly. He looked at Fire Lotus and said with a smile, "Miss Fire Lotus, let's go to Star Cloud City." "Okay." Fire Lotus nodded. After Fire Lotus and Jiang Dafei left, Lei Bing also took out a phantom elixir and changed his appearance. After all, he had to stay undercover in Serpent City in the future, so he couldn't reveal his true identity. It was because of this that Jiang Dafei had changed his appearance. As for Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, they had appeared in the Dragon God Palace, so they couldn't show their true faces. Otherwise, everyone would know that Li Bu, heir in the Dragon God Palace, was Qin Feiyang. After that, Lei Bing also opened an altar. Qin Feiyang jumped onto the altar with Feng Daji. He looked at the more than 1,000 people below and said with a smile, build a contract bridge with each other so that you can contact each other in the future. Then, go back to your respective cities immediately. But don't go back to the city lord's mansion, in case you get hurt. Yes. A group of people bowed and answered. Lei Bing also jumped onto the altar. This young master is really bold. Yes. Only the young master would dare to think of such a bold plan, and only the young master would dare to do it. After Qin Feiyang and the other two left, the more than 1,000 people sighed. Last time. In order to deal with Qin Feiyang, the dragons looted the treasure vaults of all the cities in the north. This time around, Qin Feiyang could be said to be giving him a taste of his own medicine. One could imagine. When the dragons received the news, their faces would be ugly. Serpent City. There was a sea of people and endless streams of horses and carriages. It seemed incomparably prosperous and lively. The city lord's mansion, which was located in the center of the city, was naturally heavily guarded. At this moment, behind the city lord's mansion, above a medicinal field, 3 figures appeared out of nowhere. They were none other than Qin Feiyang, Feng Daji, and Lei Bing. Qin Feiyang shook his head and looked at Feng Daji. Feng Daji waved his hand, and a divine sense shot out, blasting downward. With a loud bang, an enchantment appeared above the medicine field, and the enchantment shattered. Without another word, Qin Feiyang immediately released his divine power and poured it into the ground below the herb field. Rumble. The entire herb field was uprooted, including the crystal vein and the spirit vein below. Who is it? This commotion immediately alerted the people in the city lord's estate. A black-clothed old man took the lead and rushed into the back mountain. But when he saw that it was Qin Feiyang and Feng Daji, his face suddenly changed. This was because the two of them had not changed their appearances yet. And Qin Feiyang wanted to cause a sensation. Needless to say, Feng Daji used to be a servant of the dragons, so the dragons naturally knew him. How dare you rob the herb field of the Serpent City again? And this Feng Daji, didn't he explode himself? Why is he still alive? The black-clothed old man was both shocked and angry, but he didn't dare to go forward. Not only did they not dare to step forward, they fled for their lives in fear. Feng Daji turned around and looked at the black-clothed old man, who had just reached the 9th heaven state. A divine sense shot out, and the black-clothed old man died on the spot. The next moment, he returned to his true form, which was a black dragon, and fell to the ground with a thump. Soon, another group of people rushed into the back mountain. The leader was a middle-aged man in a purple robe, who looked quite majestic. He is the city lord of the Serpent City. The people behind him are basically the dragon's minions. They all deserve to die. Lei Bing said to Feng Daji. Die. Feng Daji said coldly, and a divine sense rushed towards the group of people like a tide. It's Qin Feiyang. Run! The city lord roared. But before he could finish, the divine sense had already arrived. Along with a series of screams, the group of people died, and blood splashed in the sky. At the same time, Qin Feiyang put the herb field into the Black Tortoise realm, looked at the blood mist in the sky, and said with a smile, "Let's go to the next city." Yes. Lei Bing opened another altar, and then the 3 of them left without looking back. Did you hear the commotion at the city lord's mansion? Something seems to have happened. I can faintly hear some screams. What is going on? At this moment, everyone in the Serpent City was looking at the city lord's mansion, their eyes full of shock. The guards of the city lord's mansion heard the commotion and rushed to the back mountain in shock. When he saw the looted medicinal field, when he saw the black dragon's corpse, when he saw the ground full of dismembered corpses and severed limbs, he immediately turned pale. What's going on? Who robbed the herb field? Who killed the messenger of the dragons and the city lord? The news quickly spread in the Serpent City, causing a huge uproar. At the same time, Snow Dragon City, Sun Moon City, and Star Cloud City were also boiling. Because the city lords' mansions of these three cities were also robbed. The messenger of the dragons and the city lord were also killed. I saw it, it's Hua Yi. That's right, it's Qin Feiyang's accomplice. It's him who robbed the herb field of Snow Dragon City and killed the city lord and the messenger of the dragons. Oh my god. Why would he suddenly do such a thing? He's crazy. I saw it too, it's a masked woman who robbed the herb field of Star Cloud City. She's too powerful. The city lord, the messenger of the dragons, and the guards are as weak as ants in front of her. An unprecedented storm unfolded in the north. All the cities were talking about it. Whoosh! Above a certain city, accompanied by a terrifying aura, a golden-robed man wearing a mask descended in the sky above the city lord's mansion. Die, all of you! After robbing the herb field, the man in the golden robe shouted coldly, and divine power surged out and blasted into the city lord's mansion. Boom! The entire city lord's mansion was turned into ashes in an instant. How cruel! Li Changhe shook his head. That's right. The man in the golden robe was the five-clawed golden dragon. Let's go. The five-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Li Changhe nodded and opened an altar. After the two left, the city was in an uproar. Who are they? I heard that they've robbed more than one city lord's mansion. The news finally reached the Dragon God Palace. What did you say? The white-clothed woman looked at a disciple who came to report with a face full of shock and anger. Lord Ancestral Dragon. It's true. The disciple said. Who is it? The white-clothed woman said in a deep voice. Hua Yi, a masked woman, and a masked man. And someone saw Qin Feiyang and Feng Daji with their own eyes. The disciple said. Feng Daji? Isn't he dead? The white-clothed woman was shocked. Back then, Feng Daji self-destructed in front of her. How could he still be alive? Could it be that he left behind a wisp of his divine soul before he self-destructed? This damn thing. The disciple said, and their cultivation seems to be very strong. How strong? The white-clothed woman asked. I'm not sure, but I heard that Hua Yi, the masked woman, and the masked man are all in the imperishable realm. The disciple said. Qin Feiyang. You're simply lawless. The white-clothed woman was unable to restrain her anger. She waved her hand and said, I know, you can leave now. Yes. The disciple respectfully responded, turned around, and quickly left. The white-clothed woman took out an image crystal. Buzz! A blurry figure appeared. It was Longzuan. The white-clothed woman shouted, Lord Longzuan, something bad has happened. What's wrong? Longzuan frowned. Qin Feiyang, Hua Yi, Feng Daji, and two masked men and women who jumped out of nowhere, are wantonly looting the medicine fields of the various city lord mansions in the north. Our emissaries of the dragons were all killed by them. The white-clothed woman said. Naturally, she ignored the deaths of the various city lords. Because compared to the looting of the medicine fields and the death of the dragon's emissaries, the deaths of the various city lords were not worth mentioning. What? This damn little beast, is there no end to it? Longzuan said angrily. The white-clothed woman said, Lord, how should we solve this matter? Immediately send a message to the ancestral dragons of the various sea regions, tell them to immediately rush to the north and kill them at all costs. Longzuan shouted. Yes. The white-clothed woman nodded. At this time, Qin Feiyang, Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and Five-Clawed Golden Dragon had already looted 1/3 of the cities in the north. After all, their strength was in front of them, and they also had the coordinates of the various city lord mansions. Looting a medicine field was just a matter of a few blinks of an eye. In contrast, rushing was the most time-consuming. Because the distance between the major cities in the north was basically very far. The nearest city would need to activate several teleportation altars to reach. In the sky above a city lord mansion, Lei Bing and Feng Daji were helping to transfer the medicine fields. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. Buzz! A shadow appeared. It was Hua Yi. What's the matter? Hua Yi looked at him suspiciously. I guess these things have already reached Longzuan's ears. She will definitely think of a way to kill us. So, we must be careful. Qin Feiyang warned. Don't worry. With the broken sword, it's not a problem to escape. Hua Yi smiled confidently. Don't let down your guard. Qin Feiyang said. Got it. Hua Yi nodded his head and turned off the image crystal. At this time, the medicine fields below were also uprooted from the ground. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the medicine fields to the Black Tortoise realm. Then, he looked around. What's going on? Why haven't the dragon's messenger and the city lord come yet? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. I guess they have already received the news, so they don't dare to come and check. Feng Daji said. Then, won't we have no way to kill those city lords? Lei Bing frowned. Qin Feiyang said, then, let's kill them. Kill? Feng Daji was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, destroy the entire city lord mansion. Huh? Feng Daji was surprised. Why are you so surprised? Anyway, our people have already told them in advance not to return to the city lord mansion after returning to their respective cities. And now, the people in the city lord mansion are almost all the dragon's minions. Their deaths are not worth regretting. Qin Feiyang said lightly. That's true. Feng Daji nodded and flew into the sky with Qin Feiyang. A divine sense blasted into the city lord mansion. With a loud bang, the entire city lord mansion was instantly annihilated. Following that, the three didn't stop and rushed to the next city. Chapter 2500. Next. Qin Feiyang then sent a message to Fire Lotus, Jiang Dafei, Li Changhe and the five-clawed golden dragon, telling them to be careful. And Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and the five-clawed golden dragon also began to encounter the same situation. The dragon's emissary and the city lord did not come. It was as if they were telling them that they could loot as much as they wanted, but they would not come to throw their lives away. The final choice that the three of them made was the same as Qin Feiyang, to destroy the entire city lord's mansion. What was even funnier was that this news slowly spread. What? Destroy the entire city lord's mansion? These people are crazy. No, I can't stay in the city lord's mansion any longer. If they come, I'll definitely die. Quick, inform everyone to evacuate the city lord's mansion immediately. Upon receiving this news, the dragon's emissaries and city lords of the various city lords' mansions immediately gave the order. In some cities, not only did the city lords' mansions people evacuate, even the people inside the city had all evacuated out of the city, turning it into an empty city. When Qin Feiyang and the others encountered such a situation, they were quite helpless. Above a city lord's mansion, Jiang Dafei looked at the empty city lord's mansion, and the corner of his mouth could not help but twitch as he sighed. The development of the situation is somewhat unexpected. Indeed, I did not expect it. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. Jiang Dafei asked, then what do we do now? Fire Lotus pondered for a moment, and said, there's no need to continue, let's retreat. All right. Jiang Dafei nodded, opened an altar, and the two of them quickly left. At the same time, Hua Yi and Wang Daoyuan also arrived above an empty city lord's mansion. And not only the city lord's mansion, but the city was also empty. This is already the second empty city we've encountered. Wang Daoyuan glanced at the city lord's mansion, then looked at the empty city, and said helplessly, "Then let's go." Hua Yi decisively opened an altar. Die. However, at this moment, accompanied by a loud shout, a sword light tore through the sky in the distance and charged towards Hua Yi and Wang Daoyuan. Hua Yi looked down and did not hesitate to mobilize his divine power to protect the altar. At the same time, he took out his broken sword and slashed out. Rumble. The two sword lights met. In an instant, the entire city, including the city lord's mansion, was reduced to ashes. Just as young master expected, the dragons would send people to kill us. Wang Daoyuan muttered. Humph. Hua Yi grunted coldly as he grabbed Wang Daoyuan, and then he flashed up the altar like a bolt of lightning before his figure started to dissipate. Where do you think you're going? A 14 or 15-year-old youth in blood-red clothes streaked across the sky like a bolt of lightning. He was holding a blood-red dagger in his hand. Hua Yi looked at the blood-robed youth and chuckled, "Blood dragon, ancestral dragon, aren't you guarding the North Sea? What are you doing here? How dare you?" Although the blood-red clothed youth looked young, there was a shocking murderous aura between his eyebrows. "I already guessed that you would come, so I won't give you a chance. We'll meet again if fate wills it." Hua Yi waved his hand, and the two figures completely disappeared. "Damn it, damn it!" the blood-robed youth roared. In the sky above another city, the five-clawed golden dragon and Li Changhe also encountered an empty city. Li Changhe shook his head and took out an altar. Buzz! But at this time, the image crystal rang. Li Changhe took out the image crystal, and Qin Feiyang's shadow appeared. "I received a message from Hua Yi that the blood dragon ancestral dragon has already arrived in the north. I believe that the other ancestral dragons have also arrived. Evacuate immediately," Qin Feiyang said. Ancestral dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon and Li Changhe's expressions changed as they immediately revived the altar and returned to Black Tortoise Mountain. At the same time, Fire Lotus also received Hua Yi's message. Black Tortoise Mountain. Several people appeared in the sky above the valley one after another. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and laughed, "Everyone is back, not bad. It's a pity that we didn't kill them all." Lei Bing shook his head regretfully. Li Changhe sighed, "There's nothing we can do about it." Wang Daoyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Young master, we should have acted quietly at that time. Do you think that by acting quietly, you can kill all the city lords without anyone noticing? It will never be possible. There are so many people in the city lord's mansion. No matter how secretive we are, we will be exposed sooner or later." Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang laughed, "Since we've already come this far, there's nothing to regret. Tell me about your results." He was already very happy that everyone had returned. Jiang Dafei said, "Miss Fire Lotus and I have killed a total of 160 city lords. Wang Daoyuan followed, Lord Hua Yi and I have killed a total of 175 city lords. Lord Golden Dragon and I have killed a little more. We killed a total of 190 city lords." Li Changhe laughed. There was no other way, the five-clawed golden dragon was too violent. "More than us?" Lei Bing was stunned. "Then how many did you kill?" Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two curiously. Lei Bing smiled bitterly, "Young master, Lord Feng Daji and I killed 150 city lords. It's indeed a bit bad." Hua Yi grinned. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. 150, 160, 175, 190, this added up to 675. Not to mention, this was a good result. There were 1,200 cities in the north. In other words, they had killed more than half of them. And this was not the main point. The main point was these city lords' mansions' herb fields. Let's go to the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and led the group into the Black Tortoise world. Above the Devil's Land, there were intact herb fields floating. These were the herb fields that Qin Feiyang looted. Crystal veins, soul veins, not a single one was spared. Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and the others, asking, "What about the herb fields you looted?" Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and the five-clawed golden dragon looked at each other. With a wave of their hands, herb fields flew out from their chi seas one after another. For people who had reached their cultivation level, their chi seas could accommodate all things. So many. Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Jiang Dafei, and Lei Bing stared at the herb fields, crystal veins, and soul veins in a daze. Qin Feiyang smiled. It seems like there's no need to loot the Dragon God Temple's herb fields, soul veins, and crystal veins. It's enough to cause earth-shaking changes to the Black Tortoise world. Fire Lotus nodded with a smile on her face. This was half of the northern region's crystal veins and soul veins, probably comparable to the north, west desert, south wasteland, and east tomb combined. And the Black Tortoise world space was smaller than the north wasteland. One could imagine. With so many crystal veins and soul veins entering the Black Tortoise world, how big of a change would it cause? Other things aside, the current Black Tortoise world had definitely surpassed the Dragon God Temple. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus, smiling, "Sorry to trouble you again." "No problem." Fire Lotus smiled faintly, saying, "Black Panther brothers, come out and help." Coming. The three Black Panther brothers ran out of the ancient castle. When they saw the herb fields, crystal veins, and soul veins, they were all dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang turned to Lei Bing and Jiang Dafei, saying, "You two go back first. If there's anything, contact me." "Okay." The two nodded. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. After establishing the contract bridge, he sent the two out. Li Changhe asked, "Young master, what about the remaining cities?" "I was just about to think about this. You two go and help Fire Lotus, I'll think about it alone." Qin Feiyang finished speaking and walked to the courtyard at the side. Feng Daji entered the ancient castle, continuing to reconstruct his body. The five-clawed golden dragon followed Qin Feiyang. As for Hua Yi, he wandered around the herb fields alone. "Help me brew a pot of tea." Qin Feiyang sat in the pavilion, looking at the five-clawed golden dragon and said, then lowered his head and pondered. Dragon God Mountain Range, above the plains. The white-clothed woman and the blood-red-clothed youth stood together, both silent and gloomy. Soon, accompanied by a few whistling sounds, another four people flew over. The white-clothed woman looked at the four and asked, "How is it?" One of them said, "We didn't find a single person, but we counted that a total of more than 600 city lord mansions were looted." "Damn it!" The blood-red-clothed youth was furious. "You just sent a message saying that you met Hua Yi, why did you let him escape?" An old man looked at the blood-red-clothed youth and frowned. The blood-red-clothed youth said, "They already guessed that we would appear, so they were already prepared. Why are these people so difficult to deal with?" The others rubbed their foreheads. The blood-red-clothed youth said again, "Also, this Hua Yi actually knows that I'm guarding the North Sea?" "What? How did he know?" The others were surprised. "It's clear that they've already expected this," Li Tianlan said. "I'm afraid not only me, but also the few of you guarding the Inland Sea, West Sea, South Sea, and East Sea, they also know." The blood-red-clothed youth said in a deep voice. "I finally understand why Long Zun always said that Qin Feiyang is a bigger threat than the dragon-slaying palace. His mind is really frightening. To be honest, I really don't know what to do with this kid now. The white-clothed woman sighed. In fact, old Hay and the other three should have unsealed the heaven-defying divine artifacts the last time we were here. Yes. If we had unsealed the divine artifacts at that time, although the North Sea and the divine Dragon Island would have been affected, at least we could have gotten rid of him and waited forever. But now? Old Hay and the other three have been killed, and they haven't condensed a complete divine soul yet. The most important thing is that the Sunset Divine Bow, the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, have also fallen into Qin Feiyang's hands. I'm afraid that the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts have already surrendered to him. Otherwise, with their strength, they would have already killed their way out. The other 4 people also sighed. What's the point of saying this now? Hurry up and think. What should we do next? The blood-red-clothed youth said angrily, feeling a little restless. The white-clothed woman sighed deeply and said, "Let's ask Lord Longzun for advice." The other 4 people also nodded. Their minds were in a mess now, and it was hard for them to think of an effective solution. The white-clothed woman took out an image crystal. Buzz! Longzun's shadow appeared. "How is it?" Longzun asked. "We are useless. Please forgive us, Lord Longzun." The 6 people immediately knelt in the void. Longzun's body suddenly emitted a bone-piercing chill when he heard that. He said in a deep voice, "How many cities have been affected?" "More than 600. The white-clothed woman said truthfully. Longzun said angrily, "More than 600 cities, that's half of the North Sea." The 6 people trembled in fear, as if they were facing an abyss. Chapter 25:01. Half of the north has been plundered. "What are you guys doing?" Longzun said angrily. "My lord, please forgive us." The 6 of them knelt in the air, looking terrified. They also wanted to kill Qin Feiyang and eliminate all future troubles. However, facing this person, they felt powerless from the bottom of their hearts. It was the same as when they faced Qin Badian. Thinking back, Qin Badian was the same as well. Although his cultivation was weak, he was like a loach that couldn't be caught. Why were the people of the Qin clan so difficult to deal with? It's not that they are difficult to deal with, it's because of the Celestial God Stone. Without the Celestial God Stone, they would have died many times over. Longzun snorted as if he knew what the 6 of them were thinking. "You're right." The 6 of them nodded. "They should still be moving. Go hide in the cities that haven't been plundered and wait for them to come to us." Longzun shouted. "Yes." The blood-red-clothed young man and the other 4 answered respectfully. However, the white-clothed woman was still suspicious of him. Longzun looked at the woman in white and asked, "Do you have any objections?" "My lord, they have already plundered half of the north. The spirit veins, crystal veins, and herbs are enough for them to use for a lifetime. So I'm worried that they will stop here." The woman in white said. Longzun asked, "Then tell me, what should we do?" The woman in white froze. If she knew what to do, why would she send a message to Longzun? "Since you don't know what to do, then go quickly." Longzun snorted coldly, and the phantom immediately dissipated. The 6 of them sighed and stood up. The woman in white looked at the 5 of them and said, "Do you guys think they will make another move?" "I don't know. I believe that even Lord Longzun doesn't know. She told us to wait for them to come. She's probably just trying our luck." The 5 of them shook their heads. "All right, let's try our luck." The woman in white said helplessly. Why was Qin Feiyang more of a threat than Qin Badian? Although Qin Badian also had heavenly domain magic stone, he had always kept a low profile and rarely took the initiative to provoke the dragons. But Qin Feiyang was different. He would come out to make a fuss if he had nothing to do. Moreover, it was not a small matter. Every time, it would cause an uproar. When encountering such a situation, not to mention the arrogant dragon clan, no one would be able to take it. Therefore, for the dragons, Qin Feiyang was a problem that needed to be solved as soon as possible. The Black Tortoise World. Qin Feiyang sipped his tea and pondered. Fire Lotus, on the other hand, was busy with Wang Daoyuan, Li Changhe, and He Bao. Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his head and looked at the five-clawed golden dragon who was standing respectfully at the side. He smiled and said, "Xiao Jin, don't just stand there. Sit down and drink tea with me." Little Gold? The five-clawed golden dragon was still in his human form. When he heard Qin Feiyang's words, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Was this form of address really suitable for him? But he didn't say anything. He sat opposite Qin Feiyang and took a sip from his teacup. There was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "It seems that you and Hua Yi are a good match." A good match for him? The five-clawed golden dragon raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang said, "He doesn't like to drink tea either. No matter how good the tea is, it's not as good as a pot of inferior wine in his eyes." The five-clawed golden dragon's eyes lit up and asked, "So, he likes to drink?" "Not very much, but very much." "If you also like this, then you really have to follow him. Because right now, he has hundreds of jars of peerless wine on him." Qin Feiyang laughed. Peerless wine, the five-clawed golden dragon's eyes lit up, but he stubbornly shook his head and said, "I don't care." Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh, and said, "I'm very curious, why do you want to follow me? Is it just because I control you?" The five-clawed golden dragon hesitated. "There's no harm in saying it," Qin Feiyang said. "Okay. Then I'll tell you the truth. Although Hua Yi's current cultivation is stronger than yours, I know that his future achievements will definitely not be as good as yours. Because you have the Black Tortoise Realm, a heaven-defying artifact like the ancient castle, and a group of loyal subordinates. And what Hua Yi has is that broken sword. However, that broken sword belonged to your ancestor. So, in the long run, you are the most worthy person to follow." The five-clawed golden dragon said. "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "You have a good eye." "Shameless." The five-clawed golden dragon pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Then, what do you think we should do next?" "Next?" The five-clawed golden dragon was stunned. "Yes. We've only killed a little more than half of the city lords in the north, so the operation will definitely continue. But I'm worried that the ancestral dragon of the dragons may be lurking in one of the city lords' residences, waiting for us to deliver ourselves to his door." Qin Feiyang said. The five-clawed golden dragon god looked a little embarrassed. It didn't matter if he was asked to fight a bloody battle, but it was a little too difficult for him to come up with a plan. He admitted that he didn't have the same brain as Qin Feiyang. "What's wrong? Is this a problem for you?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Qin. Young master, don't make fun of me. I can fight, but I really can't do anything else." The five-clawed golden dragon smiled bitterly. He originally wanted to directly call Qin Feiyang by his name, but since he was now following Qin Feiyang, there should be a hierarchy. So, after thinking for a while, he also called Qin Feiyang young master like Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan. As for the title of young lord, it was a title used by the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace, such as Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang. And he wasn't from the Dragon Slayer Palace, but directly under Qin Feiyang's command, so it was a little inappropriate to call him young lord like Jiang Dafei and the others. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "I have a plan. Listen to it and see if it's feasible." "Go ahead." The five-clawed golden dragon said. Logically speaking, Longzuan doesn't know our real purpose, so he should think that we won't take action again. After all, the herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins that we looted this time are enough for us to use for a lifetime. So when the news passes, we can continue to take action. But we can't judge this kind of thing by common sense. Maybe the ancestral dragons are really waiting for us in one of the city lord's residences? So, my plan is, just in case, I'll enter the inland sea and stall Longzuan and the ancestral dragons. You guys take the opportunity to go to other cities and kill those city lords. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing the first part, the five-clawed golden dragon was impressed. Young master was really thoughtful. However, when the last sentence was said, the five-clawed golden dragon god's face stiffened. Entering the inland sea to stall Longzuan and the ancestral dragons, wasn't that courting death? Actually, as long as the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts are willing to help, even if I enter the inland sea alone, I will be fine. Qin Feiyang smiled. The five-clawed golden dragon said, but the key is that they haven't really submitted yet. So, I have to talk to them again. Qin Feiyang smiled, picked up the teacup, raised his head and drank it, then got up and walked toward the castle. Is it that easy? The five-clawed golden dragon looked at Qin Feiyang's back and muttered to himself. Castle, hall. Qin Feiyang walked into the hall and looked at the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts. You don't have to say any more. We heard your conversation with the five-clawed golden dragon. I have to say, we really admire your courage. Before Qin Feiyang could speak, the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said. You heard? Qin Feiyang was taken aback and smiled. All right, I don't have to say it again. What's your decision? The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, we can help you, but we have a condition. A trace of a smile appeared in Qin Feiyang's eyes as he asked, what conditions? No matter what the four divine artifacts' conditions were, he would agree. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, let us go to the origin source of the black tortoise world to cultivate. Origin source? Qin Feiyang was stunned. You want to go to the origin source to cultivate? Are you dreaming? But at this moment, the little boy appeared out of thin air and stood in front of Qin Feiyang, looking coldly at the four great divine artifacts. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, if you don't let us go, we won't help Qin Feiyang. Sure. The little boy put his hands behind his back and said indifferently, Qin Feiyang, throw them out immediately. What? Qin Feiyang looked at the little boy in astonishment. The four great divine artifacts were something he had painstakingly left behind, and he actually wanted him to throw them out? Hurry up. The little boy urged. But, Qin Feiyang looked a little anxious. The four great divine artifacts now knew all of his secrets. If they were allowed to return to the dragons, then the dragons would be even more unscrupulous when dealing with him in the future. And now, the dragons were at least a little afraid of the castle. The little boy said, listen to me. Qin Feiyang looked at the little boy, then at the four great divine artifacts, and nodded helplessly, all right. The little boy immediately looked at the four great divine artifacts, his eyes full of ridicule. Qin Feiyang, you must think carefully. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said in a deep voice. As you can see, in the black tortoise world, this little brat is actually the biggest. I can't not listen to him. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and raised his hand. Seeing this, the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit hurriedly said, don't, let's talk things over. Qin Feiyang was surprised. The sunset divine bow actually gave in. This was something he never expected. There was actually a day when the artifact spirit would compromise. Aren't you very arrogant? What's there to discuss? The little boy sneered. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit was silent for a long time, then said, "All right, this sovereign apologizes to you. That's more like it. Since you have a request, you should have the attitude of asking for help." A cold and arrogant smile appeared on the little boy's face. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit said helplessly, "Whatever you say. All right. I can let you enter the land of origin, but you have to be obedient in advance. Otherwise, even if the artifact spirit of the castle speaks up for you, it won't work." The little boy said indifferently. Although he looked like a porcelain doll, he was quite dignified. Chapter 2502. Okay. We'll help Qin Feiyang. The artifact spirit of the Sunset Divine Bow said, its tone full of helplessness. "Wait a moment. What did you just say? The castle's spirit is speaking for them?" Qin Feiyang stared at the boy and frowned. "Really? No way. You must have heard wrong." After the boy finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He really ran faster than a rabbit. But what did the castle's spirit mean? First, it communicated with the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, and now it communicated with the boy, but it didn't communicate with him. "It's poisonous." Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, and smiled. "I was forced to do that just now, I hope you don't take it to heart." "It's okay, I understand." The Sunset Divine Bow said. "But I'm really curious, what kind of place is this source land? Why do you want to go to this source land?" Qin Feiyang said. "This matter, you'll understand in the future. In short, we can help you now." The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit hesitated for a moment and said. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit suddenly said, "There's another heaven-defying divine artifact sealed in the Black Tortoise world, right?" "Yes. It's sealed in the Soul Sealing Valley." Qin Feiyang nodded. The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit said, "Take us there." "Why are we looking for it?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "The strength of the dragons isn't as simple as you think. If you want to fight against the dragons, you have to strengthen yourself. As for the heaven-defying divine artifacts, each of them has the ability to destroy the world, and are undoubtedly the best help." The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit said. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. So the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were going to help him subdue the divine artifact in the Soul Sealing Valley. This was indeed a good thing. Because the heaven-defying divine artifact in the Soul Sealing Valley had always been like a bomb. No one knew when it would explode. Therefore, it would be best if he could subdue it. This heaven-defying divine artifact is very dishonest. How about this? I'll deal with it first. You guys just stay inside my body and bide your time. Qin Feiyang said. All right. The Setting Sun Divine Bow's artifact spirit replied. Immediately, the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts turned into streaks of light and drilled into Qin Feiyang's sea of qi. They entered a self-sealing state and no aura could be sensed at all. A smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. He had finally made the 4 heaven-defying artifacts submit to him. In this way, he was more confident in fighting against the dragons. Whoosh! The next moment, Qin Feiyang disappeared. Soul Sealing Valley. It was dead silent as always. A figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the deepest part of Soul Sealing Valley. A 9-story stone tower stood in the deepest part of the valley. It was completely black and exuded an ancient aura. There were also 2 iron chains on the stone tower. Each of them was as thick as an arm and shone with a dark light. There was a sealing aura on both the iron chains and the stone tower. Qin Feiyang, a hoarse voice sounded. A black figure flew out of the stone tower and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. His tone seemed to be very excited. "Long time no see," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A day outside was 100 years in the castle. It had been more than 100,000 years since he last came to Soul Ceiling Valley. Yes. Thinking back, when we first met, we weren't even gods yet. And now, you've broken through to the early stage of the Paragon God realm. The black figure sighed. Do you regret it? Qin Feiyang asked. Regret? The black figure was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, You lied to me back then. The black figure didn't say anything. Qin Feiyang said, I wasn't sure before, but now, I can guess why you lied to me. Then tell me. The black figure said. You know that the Black Tortoise world is an independent world, so you wanted to take it from me and merge it with the Black Tortoise world. That way, you can become a heaven-defying divine artifact like the castle now. Qin Feiyang said. What? There's already a heaven-defying divine artifact merging with the Black Tortoise world? The black figure was shocked. Qin Feiyang paused for a moment and said, When the castle merged with the Black Tortoise world, there was such a huge commotion. Didn't you notice it? Although the creatures of the Black Tortoise world didn't notice it when the little boy merged, this black figure was the artifact spirit of a heaven-defying divine artifact. Since it was the artifact spirit of a heaven-defying divine artifact, it should have noticed the changes in the Black Tortoise world. The commotion, the black figure murmured. You really didn't notice it? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Many years ago, I did feel that there were some changes in the Black Tortoise world, but I wasn't sure if it was because of the fusion with the heaven-defying divine artifact. The black figure said. Qin Feiyang joked, Are you very disappointed after hearing this news? The black figure fell silent again. It seems that I guessed right. That's your goal. Qin Feiyang sneered. What's done can't be changed. Yes, I accept it. I want to merge with the Black Tortoise world. Because this is the only way for us heaven-defying divine artifacts to transform into sovereign divine artifacts. Only by transforming into a sovereign divine artifact can I take revenge. The black figure said resentfully. Qin Feiyang asked, You want to take revenge on the creation god? Yes. There's also the heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon. They were the ones who sealed me here and made me suffer countless years of torture and pain. The black figure said angrily. Heaven-devouring beast? Ice dragon? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The black figure waved his hand, and an ice dragon and a golden small beast appeared. They are the heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon. So it's them. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This golden small beast is the heaven-devouring beast. Wait a minute. What is this heaven-devouring beast? Why have I never heard of it? The heaven-devouring beast is the strongest beast in the infinite worlds. Its terror is not something you can imagine. Mountains, rivers, earth, all living things, it can swallow them all in one gulp. Even a great world can be swallowed in one gulp. The black figure said. What? Swallowing a world? Qin Feiyang's body and mind trembled. He didn't expect this golden small beast to be so terrifying. It could even swallow a world. How unimaginable. Now you know how terrifying the enemy I'm facing is. That's why I wanted to use you to obtain the Black Tortoise world. I had no choice. The black figure sighed. The heaven-devouring beast and the ice dragon are also my enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. All right. I'll help you break the seal. Qin Feiyang said. Really? The black figure was startled and hurriedly said. Otherwise, why do you think I came to you? Tell me, how can I help you break the seal? Qin Feiyang said. The black figure was extremely excited and said, you just need to cut the chains on the stone tower. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 chains tied to the stone tower, took out the azure phoenix sword, and tried to cut it. Clang! Sparks flew. However, the chains were not damaged at all. Instead, a crack appeared on the blade of the azure phoenix sword. It's so hard? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. If it can even cut a legendary artifact, then I don't need your help at all. I can break it myself. The black figure said. Qin Feiyang said, in that case, it has to be a heaven-defying artifact? Yes. My main body is sealed in the tower and can't come out. Otherwise, my main body would be able to break the chains. The black figure said. A heaven-defying artifact, Qin Feiyang murmured. His eyes flashed slightly, closed his eyes, and extended his perception infinitely. Soon, he found Hua Yi. Following closely. Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and Hua Yi appeared out of thin air. Hua Yi suddenly appeared here, and his expression was slightly stunned. Then, he turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, "What? Lend me the broken sword." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and smiled. Broken sword? Hua Yi was stunned. He looked at the black figure, then at the stone tower, and said in surprise, "Kid, don't tell me you want to help him break the seal?" After being in the black tortoise world for so many years, he had long known of the existence of this black figure. Qin Feiyang nodded. You're crazy. What if he fully awakens the moment he escapes? Wouldn't the black tortoise world be destroyed on the spot? Hua Yi thought. After the black tortoise world and the ancient castle fused, its toughness is the same as the ancient castle. Even if he awakens, he might not be able to destroy the black tortoise world. Qin Feiyang transmitted. Alright. Even if the black tortoise world isn't destroyed, what about the living beings in the black tortoise world? Hua Yi asked secretly. Once the heaven-defying artifact displayed its full power, none of the living beings in the black tortoise world would be able to survive. Don't worry, I'm prepared. The Sunset Divine Bow and the other 3 heaven-defying artifacts are now in my Qi Si. Qin Feiyang thought. They've already submitted? Hua Yi was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. How did you do it? Hua Yi asked in surprise. It has nothing to do with me. It was that little boy who wanted them to compromise. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. This little brat is pretty good. Hua Yi was speechless. To be able to subdue a heaven-defying artifact, he indeed had some ability. He transmitted, but I still feel that something isn't right. Why? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. Hua Yi thought to himself, the might of a heaven-defying divine artifact is not something we can control. Even the Sunset Divine Bow and the others, who are also heaven-defying divine artifacts, would have to spend a great deal of effort to suppress it. Now that you mention it, it seems to make sense. Qin Feiyang nodded thoughtfully and said, but the Sunset Divine Bow and the others seem to be very confident? Of course they're confident. Because they don't care about the life and death of the black tortoise world. If you don't believe me, you can ask them. They must be thinking that if this thing dares to act recklessly, they'll directly release the seal and suppress it. Releasing the seal and fighting 4 against 1, they can naturally suppress it. But you know the consequences better than me. Hua Yi said inwardly. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. There's no mistake. It must be like what Hua Yi said. These heaven-defying divine artifacts were truly cold-blooded and heartless fellows. Luckily, he had called Hua Yi over and had held back, otherwise he really would have been impulsive and broken the chains. Hua Yi transmitted again, the most important thing is that even if you do everything you can to suppress it, you still won't be able to completely control it. You will have to be on guard against it at all times, and in the end it will only be a problem. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. His words had really woken him up. When he heard the Sunset Divine Bao's artifact spirit say that it would help him subdue this thing, and when he thought about how he could obtain the help of another heaven-defying divine artifact, he had rushed over in a rush, not even thinking about these problems. Luckily, Hua Yi had reminded him in time. It seemed that from now on, no matter how tempting the situation was, he had to maintain a clear mind and reason. You two? The Black Shadow looked at the two of them suspiciously. Weren't they going to help him release the seal? Why weren't they doing anything? Chapter 2503. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, looked at the Black Shadow, and said, "Let's talk about unlocking the seal later." After saying that, he disappeared without a trace with Hua Yi, leaving the Black Shadow standing alone in the void in a daze. Wasn't this playing with him? Fun? He was extremely depressed in his heart. Herb Field, Fire Lotus and the others were still busy. Hua Yi looked at everyone and speechlessly looked at Qin Feiyang. "I didn't expect you to be so impulsive." Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. Hua Yi said, "Sunset Divine Bao, come out." Swish. Four heaven-defying divine artifacts appeared. Hua Yi said, "You guys are too unreasonable. You actually instigated Qin Feiyang to do such a thing. What's unreasonable? It's you guys who worry too much. If you want to achieve great things, you have to do whatever it takes." The Sunset Divine Bao's artifact spirit looked down on Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Hua Yi rolled his eyes and coldly snorted, "People of different paths can't work together. Being indecisive makes it difficult to achieve great things." The artifact spirit also snorted coldly. Hua Yi raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Say that again." "So what if I say it? With your little strength, if this sovereign wants to kill you, it's as easy as crushing an ant." The artifact spirit said disdainfully. Clang! Hua Yi immediately took out the broken sword and shouted, "If you have the guts, don't unlock the seal. Let's fight for 300 rounds. If you have the guts, put down the broken sword." The artifact spirit said. "Less nonsense. Do you dare or not?" Hua Yi said. "That's 3 words." The artifact spirit said indifferently. "Is that the point?" Hua Yi roared. "This sovereign is too lazy to care about people who don't even know how to count." The artifact spirit was disdainful. Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and the Sunset Divine Bao with a speechless expression. An artifact spirit and a human being could actually bicker so happily. It was admirable. "You guys continue." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he walked out of the castle. In fact, Hua Yi and the artifact spirit's bickering was a good sign. Because of bickering, it was easier to deepen the relationship between them. Sooner or later, Hua Yi would return the broken sword to his ancestor. At that time, he would no longer have a heaven-defying divine artifact. Therefore, Qin Feiyang sincerely hoped that the Sunset God Bao would fall in love with Hua Yi. In this way, Hua Yi would have a heaven-defying divine artifact that truly belonged to him. In the blink of an eye. Inside the castle. Half a month passed. Fire Lotus and the others were finally done. Right now, the entire Devil's Land, except for the 4 sides of the border, had become a flat land. They were all planted with medicinal herbs. In other words, now, the entire Devil's Land was filled with medicinal fields. Crystal veins and spirit veins were also spread all over the underground of the Devil's Land. They had already reached saturation. In other words, in the future, he could give the herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins he obtained to the Black Tortoise world. Black Tortoise world. 3,000 years passed quickly. In the outside world, only 30 days had passed, which was equivalent to a month. For the creatures of the divine continent, a month was just a blink of an eye. The news of Qin Feiyang and the others looting the major medicinal fields not only spread throughout the entire north, but also caused a huge uproar in the west, south, and east. They actually looted half of the city lord's mansion in the headquarters. Such a crazy move was really unprecedented. As for Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi, these two names were already well known in the divine prefecture. Everyone knew about them. As for Fire Lotus and the five-clawed golden dragon, everyone knew them, but they didn't know what they were called. They only knew that they were the accomplices of Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi, so no one paid too much attention to them. But Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were undoubtedly pushed to the teeth of the storm. Wherever there were people, they were talking about them. When Hua Yi heard this news, he felt quite wronged. In the end, he was just an accomplice like Fire Lotus and the five-clawed golden dragon. The mastermind was Qin Feiyang. Why did they want him to be as famous as Qin Feiyang? People are afraid of being famous, pigs are afraid of being fat. Being famous might not be a good thing. But there was no other way. The situation had already developed to this point. It was also his fault. He was too high profile before. However, a month had passed. The dragon's emissaries and city lords had already relaxed their vigilance and returned to their respective city lords' mansion. In their opinion, it had already been a month. Qin Feiyang still hadn't made a move, so he definitely wouldn't loot the medicinal fields again. The white-clothed woman was still guarding the dragon god palace. The blood-red clothed youth and the other four were lurking in 5 different cities. They were also quite depressed. After waiting for so long, there was no movement at all. Their patience was almost worn out. It was also on this day. Qin Feiyang walked out of the ancient castle. 3,000 years had passed in the Black Tortoise world, and the Devil's Land had naturally undergone tremendous changes. Now, as far as the eye could see, it was surrounded by clouds and mist. The entire Devil's Land was like the Dragon God Palace, turning into a sea of clouds, like a fairyland. And these clouds and mist were formed from the essence Qi of the crystal vein and the energy of the spirit vein. In fact, it was even better than the Dragon God Temple. After all, the Devil's Land was much smaller than the Dragon God Palace. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the gate of the ancient castle, glanced at the Devil's Land, and took out the image crystal. Buzz! Soon, a shadow appeared. It was Jiang Dafei. Qin Feiyang said, "Come to the Black Tortoise Mountain." "Yes." Jiang Dafei respectfully replied and immediately set off for the Black Tortoise Mountain. Qin Feiyang also sent a message to Lei Bing. After receiving the order, Lei Bing immediately opened the altar and rushed towards the Black Tortoise Mountain. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, closed his eyes, and extended his perception. Feng Daji was cultivating in the cultivation room. 3,000 years had passed in the ancient castle, and his physical body had yet to be reconstructed. This undead realm was indeed a big hurdle. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan were also cultivating. However, they were not in the ancient castle, but in the medicinal field of the Devil's Land. The two of them sat separately in the medicinal field, their auras stronger than before. Although they had not broken through to the 9th heaven realm, their cultivation had improved a lot. The Fire Lotus was currently in the Desert of Death. As for Hua Yi and the 5-clawed golden dragon, the two of them were together, with their arms around each other's shoulders, eating, drinking, and playing in a restaurant. Sure enough, they are a match made in heaven. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Wait! Where were the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts? Why didn't he see them? Not in the ancient castle. Not in the Devil's Land. Not in the Netherworld Sea, Soul-Sealing Valley, Desert of Death. Strange. Qin Feiyang frowned, and continued to extend his perception. Soon, Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with surprise. The Black Tortoise realm had become bigger than before. And this time, the change was particularly obvious. According to his estimation, the four sides of the Black Tortoise realm had expanded by at least 1,000 miles. In terms of diameter, it was more than 2,000 miles. If it continued to develop like this, he believed that it would not be long before the Black Tortoise realm size would be comparable to the northern region. If other places are like this Devil's Land, with a large number of spirit veins and crystal veins, the Black Tortoise realm's growth will be even faster. The little boy suddenly appeared beside Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't worry. There will be soon." Qin Feiyang smiled. The little boy was taken aback and asked, "Are you ready to act?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then let them help." The little boy waved his little hand, and the four heaven-defying divine artifacts suddenly appeared in the void in front of the two. And the axe and broken sword were also there. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at the little boy suspiciously. The little boy said, "Since the Sunset Divine Bow and the others have entered the land of Source, then naturally, we can't treat the axe and broken sword unfairly." Qin Feiyang asked, "So, they have been in the land of Source all these years?" The little boy nodded. "I really don't understand, what benefits will entering the land of Source do for them?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "See for yourself." The little boy pouted angrily at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Qin Feiyang looked at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts suspiciously. They were still the same as before, there was no change. Wait. Just as he was about to withdraw his gaze, he suddenly looked at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts again. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. The aura of these 6 divine artifacts seemed to be, vaguely, a little stronger. But in the blink of an eye, it seemed that they had not become stronger. Was it an illusion? You can't believe it, right? In these 3,000 years in the land of Source, they have indeed become a little stronger. But this kind of strength is only a little bit, and it is difficult to notice. But it is undeniable that they are indeed becoming stronger. The little boy said. How is this possible? Other than merging with the world, is there a way to make the heaven-defying divine artifacts stronger? Qin Feiyang was shocked. There are some things that you can't understand. Do your best. Sooner or later, the Black Tortoise world will become a great world that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the ancient world, or even surpass it. The little boy smiled and disappeared. Surpass the ancient world, Qin Feiyang murmured, his eyes revealing a firm belief. Yes. The Black Tortoise world will definitely reach this step. With a thought, Qin Feiyang, Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, 5-clawed Golden Dragon, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, and Feng Daji immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. Outside. In the valley. Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing arrived one after another. Looking at each other, both of them were a little surprised. Jiang Dafei said with a smile, "It seems that the young lord has made a move again, otherwise, he wouldn't have called both of us here." Yes. Lei Bing nodded, glanced around, and said, "Young lord, don't tell me that you have been in this Black Tortoise Mountain for the past month without leaving?" "Maybe." Jiang Dafei said. Swish. Before his voice faded, Qin Feiyang appeared in the sky above the valley with Fire Lotus and the others. "Sure enough, you have been in Black Tortoise Mountain all this time." The two looked at each other, immediately flew up and bowed. "I'll have to trouble you to lead the way again." Qin Feiyang looked at the two and smiled. The two hurriedly said, "This is what we should do." "All right then, the same old rules. Change your appearance and split into 4. The only difference is that I won't be traveling with you." Qin Feiyang said. "Qin Dage, where do you plan to go?" Fire Lotus looked at him suspiciously. Five-clawed golden dragon stared at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Was he really going to go to the inner sea alone? I'm going to the inner sea, Qin Feiyang said. What? Everyone's expression changed. Hearing this, Five-clawed golden dragon could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. This young lord was really a man of his words. Young lord, you're going to the inner sea alone? Don't joke, that's the nest of the dragons. We don't agree. Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing said. I don't agree either. Fire Lotus also shook her head. They all knew what kind of place the inner sea was. Not to mention Qin Feiyang going alone, even if everyone went together, they would be courting death. Chapter 2504. Don't worry, I'm just going to check if the ancestral dragons are lurking in the north. If there's danger, I'll leave immediately. Qin Feiyang smiled comfortingly. Instead, you're comforting us. Everyone was speechless. However, they didn't say anything more, because Qin Feiyang wouldn't change his decision because of them. He was such a person. Feng Daji suddenly said, Young master, I might have some problems here. What's the problem? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Feng Daji said, My body hasn't been rebuilt, so I don't have a sea of qi, so I can't accommodate those medicine fields. Qin Feiyang was taken aback, looked at Lei Bing and asked, Do you have a space divine object? Yes. But the space is very small. Lei Bing said. Qin Feiyang frowned. Suddenly, a figure appeared in his mind, and with a wave of his hand, Madman appeared out of thin air. What's wrong? Madman was suspicious. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Do me a favor, Feng Daji and Lei Bing don't have a large space divine object, so I'll accompany you. I see. Madman nodded and said, But you've been to my space divine object, and the space isn't big either. Can you stop pretending? Your space divine object isn't big, but what about behind those stone doors? It shouldn't be that simple. Qin Feiyang said. Madman raised the corner of his mouth and said, Okay, I'll accompany them. Anyway, I haven't had a good look around since I came to Divine Land. This isn't going shopping, we have to end it quickly. This time, you should do it secretly as much as possible, and try to kill all the remaining city lords at once. Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Dafei said, Then should we inform our people lurking in the various city lords' mansions and let them leave first, so as not to hurt them? Yes, we need to inform them in advance. You guys send them a message one by one now, I'll go first. When you sense the aura of the heaven-defying divine artifact, you can start to act. With that said, Qin Feiyang activated a transmission altar. Qin Dage, bring the axe. Fire Lotus hurriedly took out the axe and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Bring the broken sword as well. Hua Yi waved his hand, and the broken sword flew towards Qin Feiyang. This, Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He smiled and said, You should keep it, just in case. We're not in any danger, so why bring them along? And with you leading them, we can rest assured. Fire Lotus said. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded, put away the axe and broken sword, and stepped onto the altar without looking back. However, Fire Lotus was still very worried. All right. For heaven-defying divine artifacts have submitted. Including the broken sword and axe, that makes 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Besides, he has the gate of space and time. Don't worry, he will be fine. Hua Yi laughed. I hope so. Fire Lotus muttered. At the same time, Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing took out the image crystal and sent a message to the people lurking in the city lord's mansion. At this moment, the sky was already bright. But the sky seemed a little dim. Thick dark clouds covered the sun, as if it was the eve of a storm. In the inland sea, the waves were rolling and the sound of the waves was deafening. Not far from the coast, a white figure descended on a mountain ridge. It was Qin Feiyang. He did not hide his identity. Because he was here to be bait. If he hid his identity, it would not be of any use. Qin Feiyang stood in the sky and looked at the inland sea. Sea beasts could be seen everywhere, but not a single dragon could be seen. Let's just collect some blood. Qin Feiyang whispered. With blood, he would be able to activate the slaughter domain. Only by activating the slaughter domain would he have the ability to fight against the dragons. Although the sea beasts in the area near the Dragon God mountain range were almost all killed last time, there was no lack of sea beasts in the sea area. After killing an area, a large number of sea beasts would soon come. As for blood, it could not be stored in the Devil's Land. Because the entire Devil's Land was now planted with medicinal herbs. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and entered the Black Tortoise realm. At the end of the Netherworld Sea, he opened up a huge sinkhole to store blood. Whoosh! The waves were rolling and deafening. Clang! All of a sudden, a sword light tore through the sky and blasted into the sea. Roar! Immediately, whales were everywhere. The corpses of sea beasts continued to float to the surface of the sea. Blood dyed the sea red. Following closely, a young man in white, holding a purple gold broken sword, swept into the sea like a demon god. Wherever he went, the blood and sea beasts' corpses disappeared. The young man was even more unstoppable. Even the sea beasts of the peak ninth heaven realm were like ants under the broken sword. In less than 100 breaths, the sea beasts within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles were killed without leaving a single one. The ancestral dragon hasn't come to find me yet. It seems that he's really hiding in the north. If that's the case, then I'll take the opportunity to collect more blood. The young man muttered. With a clang, a rusty axe appeared. This axe was also extremely terrifying. The rust on it seemed to have its own consciousness, emitting a colorful divine light. It looked like a group of beautiful butterflies, covering the sky and earth as they rushed into the deep sea. Roar! Roars and screams continued to resound from the bottom of the sea. At the same time, the broken sword also released tens of thousands of strands of sword chi into the sea. In the blink of an eye, the sea beasts within a radius of tens of thousands of miles were all killed. One by one, the corpses floated to the surface of the sea. Some of the sea beasts' corpses were as large as mountains. Even if they were already dead, the terrifying power was enough to make people tremble in fear. But these corpses all disappeared with a wave of the young man's hand. If someone was here now, they would definitely be trembling in fear. Was this a human or a demon? What's going on? Why is there such a big commotion? In the distant sea, a group of sea beasts at the peak of the ninth heaven realm rushed out of the sea. Their huge eyes were filled with shock. Look! He's the one slaughtering. Damn it, how dare he come to our inland sea to slaughter? Kill him! When the group of sea beasts saw the young man, they immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyang ferociously. Wait! But suddenly, the sea beast that was running at the front suddenly came to a stop and stared at the young man in bewilderment. He looks familiar. It's him. It's Qin Feiyang. Why is it him again? Go and inform the Beast King. After recognizing the young man's identity, the sea beasts immediately turned around and fled in panic. Stay here. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The tens of thousands of rust charged toward the sea beasts with an aura that could destroy the world. Roar! Along with the sky-piercing screams, the sea beasts died one after another. Their huge bodies were pierced by the rust. Their bodies were riddled with holes and blood gushed out. Qin Feiyang used the walk word art and flew over like lightning, collecting the blood and corpses into the blood sea of the Black Tortoise world. Not bad. It's enough to activate the first stage of the Slaughter Realm twice. Qin Feiyang had no sympathy for these sea beasts in the inland sea. Because they were the claws and fangs of the dragons. If he didn't kill them today, they would become his enemies in the future when he fought with the dragons. Beast King, could it be that another sea beast king has come to this area? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The beast king in this sea area was the five-clawed golden dragon. Since it was a beast king, it must have a half-step undying cultivation. If he could subdue it, forget it. He didn't have time to do that now. He just needed to collect more blood. The axe and the broken sword, these two heaven-defying divine artifacts, were simply unstoppable. Soon, the sea beasts in this area were wiped out again. But Qin Feiyang didn't see the so-called Beast King. It must have received the news and fled to another area. Qin Feiyang went to the next area. So far, the blood he collected was enough to activate the first stage 5 times. Qin Feiyang. At this moment. Boom! A terrifying aura descended upon the place. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw a white figure descending above the sea area. It was the woman in white who was guarding the Dragon God Palace. You came really fast. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Fast? Actually, it wasn't fast. He had already killed an area of sea beasts. The dragons never thought that Qin Feiyang would enter the inland sea at this time to hunt sea beasts. So, if it wasn't for the Beast King's report, they wouldn't have noticed it. You're courting death. The woman in white was furious. With a wave of her hand, a snow-white thin sword appeared with a clang. Qin Feiyang glanced at the thin sword and said with a smile, "There's no need to fight as soon as we meet. What else do I have to say to you?" The woman in white shouted angrily and immediately slashed at Qin Feiyang with her sword. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted from his nose. The broken sword flew out of his hand, carrying a bright purple-gold divine light, and attacked the thin sword. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions, and a destructive storm was immediately born. The sea area below suddenly surged with huge waves. Axe, unlock the seal and revive. Qin Feiyang shouted. Clang! The axe in his other hand immediately erupted with a shocking aura. And this aura was like a volcanic eruption, crazily soaring. A destructive aura surged out in all directions like an avalanche. Roar! The waves rose thousands of feet high, covering the sky and the sun. Countless sea beasts exploded and died under the terrifying aura of the axe. Blood instantly dyed millions of miles of sea area red. Collect! Qin Feiyang shouted. The blood and corpses immediately turned into a torrent, rushing toward Qin Feiyang, and all of them were collected into the blood sea. In just a short while, he had collected enough blood to open the first stage twice. When the seal of the heaven-defying divine weapon was unlocked, it would destroy the world. If it was not stopped, all the sea beasts in the inland sea would be destroyed. And the axe was still recovering. Its aura became more and more terrifying, and it had already rushed out of the inland sea, crossed the Dragon God mountain range, and rushed toward the Holy Dragon City. What are you doing? The woman in white was shocked and angry. Isn't it obvious? Today, I'm going to fight you dragons to the death. Come on. Don't waste time, unlock the seal of your heaven-defying divine weapon, and let's settle this once and for all. Qin Feiyang raised his head and laughed. That maniacal laughter caused the white-clothed woman to shudder. Qin Feiyang was definitely not going to fight the dragons to the death now. He wanted to gain the upper hand and make the dragons afraid. Chapter 2505. Swoosh. Another 5 figures descended. It was the blood-red youth and the other 4. The 5 of them received the message and immediately rushed over. However, when they saw that the axe was recovering, their expressions changed drastically. The white-clothed woman said in a deep voice, "He wants to fight us to the death here." "What? Here? Bastard, don't go too far." The 5 of them immediately changed their expressions and glared at Qin Feiyang. "You're actually afraid? But it makes sense. Divine Dragon Island is in the center of the inland sea. If the seal of the heaven-defying artifact is undone here, I'm afraid that Divine Dragon Island will be destroyed before we even fight." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Don't threaten us with this. If we really fight, not only Divine Dragon Island, but the north, west, south, and east will also be destroyed. I don't believe that you can do such a thing." The blood-red youth snorted. Divine Dragon Island was in the center of the Divine Land. Therefore, if the seal of the heaven-defying artifact was undone here, a full-scale war would affect the entire Divine Land. Qin Feiyang said, "You're so confident that I won't do such a thing?" "Of course. Because you're Qin Baishan's descendant. To people like you, the common people of the world are more important than your own life." The blood-red youth said. I've said this a long time ago. Don't compare me with my ancestor. My ancestor is my ancestor, and I am me. I will do what my ancestor won't do. I dare to do what my ancestor won't do. I once slaughtered all the living beings on a continent in an instant. Why would I care about that?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. He looked at the axe and shouted, "Continue." Boom! The axe's aura became more and more terrifying. What kind of aura is this? It's so terrifying. At this moment, Divine Dragon City had been drowned by the axe's aura. The sky above the city was filled with people. They all looked in the direction of the inland sea with horror in their eyes. Outside the city. Black Tortoise Mountain. This is the axe's aura. Hua Yi and the others stood above the valley and looked in the direction of the inland sea. Their expressions were extremely solemn. "Don't worry about Qin Feiyang. Split into 4 groups and move out immediately. You must complete the mission within an hour." Hua Yi retracted his gaze and looked at everyone. Everyone nodded. Fire Lotus took a deep breath and said, "Then let's go." Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Lei Bing, and Jiang Dafei had already changed their appearances in advance. The 5-clawed golden dragon and madman also concealed their identities. As soon as Fire Lotus finished speaking, Li Changhe and the other 3 immediately took out the teleportation altar. After the altar was opened, a group of people stepped onto the altar with murderous intent. Inland sea. The wind howled and the waves surged. The sea beasts fled in terror, but in the end, all the sea beasts within a radius of tens of millions of miles were killed by the divine might of the axe. As far as the eye could see, it had turned into a sea of blood. When the 6 ancestral dragons heard Qin Feiyang's words, they fell silent. Indeed. Although this child was the descendant of Qin Batian, his personality was different from Qin Baishan's. Because for Qin Batian, even the sea beasts wouldn't massacre so wantonly. "What are you still hesitating for? I am standing in front of you, make your move." Qin Feiyang glanced at the surrounding sea, looking at the blood-stained seawater and the floating sea beasts' corpses. He felt as if there was a stabilizing needle in his heart. This blood, in addition to the blood collected before, was almost enough to open the 3rd stage. The power of the 3rd stage was comparable to unlocking the seal of a heaven-defying divine artifact. Therefore, even if the 6 ancestral dragons really made their move, he wasn't afraid. Of course. He couldn't really make his move. Because it would implicate too many innocent creatures. Now. He just wanted to show his strong side and restrain the 6 ancestral dragons, to buy enough time for Hua Yi and the others. But in the face of Qin Feiyang's clamor, the 6 ancestral dragons were indifferent. They were also sure that they didn't dare to start a war with Qin Feiyang here. The Divine Dragon Island was the foundation of the dragons, the ancestral land. It could be said that everything about the dragons was on the Divine Dragon Island. If the Divine Dragon Island was destroyed, then even if they killed Qin Feiyang, the dragons would suffer a great loss. Swish! All of a sudden, Qin Feiyang grabbed the axe and the broken sword, turned around and swept towards the sea ahead. Wherever he went, the blood and sea beasts' corpses disappeared. "Stop him!" the woman in white shouted. The thin sword in her hand flew out, cutting through the sky like lightning, slashing towards Qin Feiyang's back. "Axe!" Qin Feiyang shouted coldly. The axe also immediately flew out of his hand, chopping towards the thin sword. Clang! The two heaven-defying divine artifacts collided. The destructive aura suddenly swept in all directions. And at the same time, the separated rust quickly swept in front of Qin Feiyang, forming a colorful enchantment to protect Qin Feiyang. Because the destructive force of the collision of the two heaven-defying divine artifacts was not something that Qin Feiyang could withstand. If he didn't protect himself, he would be smashed into pieces in an instant. After the collision of the two heaven-defying divine artifacts, the thin sword was immediately sent flying back to the woman in white. After all, the thin sword had not been unsealed or awakened, so it was naturally no match for the axe. Swish! But at the same time, the young man in red and the other 4 moved together, surrounding Qin Feiyang in the middle. "Is this interesting? Why don't we go to the Star River and fight? No matter what you want to do, I'll accompany you to the end." The young man in red said. "I'm not going. I want to stay here." Qin Feiyang shook his head. What a joke. There was blood in the Star River? Without blood to activate the 3rd stage of the slaughter, wouldn't they be beaten up? Don't go too far. The 6 of them were furious, but there was nothing they could do. I'm going too far. That's not right. Who's the one who enslaved humans? It's you guys. And who's the one who schemed against me and tried to kill me time and time again? It's also you guys. And now you're saying that I'm going too far? Don't you have any shame? Qin Feiyang's face was full of sarcasm. The 6 of them looked gloomy. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Why don't you go and ask Revered Dragon whether you want to fight with me? Do you really want to fight with me, the dragons?" Swish! A bone-chilling voice sounded as Revered Dragon descended from the sky. "Greetings, Lord Revered Dragon." The 6 ancestral dragons bowed. Qin Feiyang looked up and said with a smile, "You're quite fast." Revered Dragon ignored him and asked again, "Let me ask you, do you really want to fight with me, the dragons?" Qin Feiyang frowned. What did this old witch mean? Did she want to fight to the death? "Answer me!" Revered Dragon shouted. His words carried a great pressure, as if the ruler of this world had descended. "So what if I do?" Qin Feiyang also lost his temper and looked coldly at Revered Dragon. He didn't believe that Revered Dragon would ignore the safety of Divine Dragon Island and order a war with him. "Very well. Your courage is commendable. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish." Revered Dragon said word by word. "What?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Was this old witch crazy? Did she really not care about Divine Dragon Island? "Lord Revered Dragon, this is not child's play. Please think twice." The 6 of them also had a change of expression as they exclaimed. Revered Dragon looked at the 6 of them and was unmoved. He lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Arrogant, huh? Alright, I'll show you the true foundation of us, the dragons." The true foundation? Qin Feiyang was surprised. A trace of bewilderment crept onto the faces of the 6 youths when they heard this. Suddenly, the 6 of them seemed to have thought of something and looked at revered dragon in shock. They said in unison, "Lord, you're not going to." Qin Feiyang immediately looked at the 6 of them. Looking at their shocked expressions, could it be something more terrifying than a heaven-defying divine artifact? Revered dragon didn't speak again. Suddenly, she turned and looked in the direction of Divine Dragon Island. Her expression was extremely respectful and pious as she shouted, "Sovereign Divine Realm, open." Her voice was like a bell that shook the sky. Sovereign Divine Realm? Qin Feiyang stared blankly. Just what was it that even Long Zun's attitude became so pious? At the same time, in the center of the inland sea, there was a huge island. The size of the island was comparable to the current Black Tortoise world. The mountain range was undulating and the vegetation was lush. It was majestic and magnificent. In the center of the island, there was an especially tall mountain that was surrounded by clouds and mist. It was like a celestial mountain. As revered dragon's voice sounded, the celestial mountain suddenly erupted with a dazzling milky white divine light. At the same time, a mighty aura surged out like a torrent. Why did the sacred mountain awaken? Could it be that a strong enemy came to Divine Dragon Island? There were countless people on the island. They were all transformed from divine dragons. At this moment, they all rose into the air and looked at the celestial mountain on the island that was shining with divine light. Their eyes were full of surprise. And that mighty aura and that milky white divine light also surged out in all directions with the sacred mountain as the center. Soon, the entire Divine Dragon Island was covered by the divine light. Then, the divine light condensed into a huge barrier that enveloped the entire Divine Dragon Island. But Qin Feiyang didn't know this. Because it was too far away, he couldn't see it. However, he could feel that vast and mighty aura. Under this aura, even with the axe and broken sword beside him to protect him, he couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. It was as if a peerless fiend god was descending on this place. Qin Feiyang, you'll regret it. The sovereign divine realm has opened. Even if you want to escape now, it's too late. Today is the day you die. The 6 ancestral dragons stared at Qin Feiyang coldly. Sovereign divine realm, what exactly is this? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. Looking at Divine Dragon Island again. After the giant barrier enveloped the entire island, the sacred mountain in the center of the island didn't stop. That milky white divine light surged out continuously, and with Divine Dragon Island as the center, it surged towards the inland sea in all directions. It was extremely fast. It swept across the sky. Finally, that divine light surged above Qin Feiyang and the others like a tide. Qin Feiyang looked up, and the bewilderment in his heart became even stronger. But that divine light didn't stop and continued to surge towards the coast. About 10 breaths later. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking loud sound, the divine light landed on the coast. The next moment, a super-large barrier appeared out of nowhere. If one looked down from the sky, they would see a very shocking scene. This barrier enveloped the entire inland sea. Chapter 2506. The Dominator's Divine Realm, Qin Feiyang murmured. Looking at the barrier in the sky, an inexplicable sense of panic rose in his heart. The 4 sovereigns, 8 divine emperors, and 108 divine generals of the Dragon Slayer Palace are all stronger than you, but do you know why they don't dare to step into the inner sea? The white-clothed woman looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He asked, is it because of the Dominator's divine realm? That's right. There are two barriers in the Dominator's divine realm. One covers Divine Dragon Island, and the other covers the entire Inner Sea. This is the foundation of the dragons. In this world, no one can break these two barriers. Not even a heaven-defying divine artifact with its seal unlocked. The white-clothed woman shouted. What? Even a heaven-defying divine artifact with its seal unlocked can't break this barrier? Qin Feiyang was shocked. This must be a joke. You're surprised, aren't you? But I don't think you've realized the point. Although the Dominator's divine realm exists to protect Divine Dragon Island and the Inner Sea, it's also a cage. Especially now that you're in the Inner Sea. You can't break into Divine Dragon Island or escape from the Dominator's divine realm. And now, even if your ancestors come, they can only stand outside the Dominator's divine realm and watch you die. Even your ancestors don't dare to step into the Inner Sea. Where did you get the courage to come here again and again? The white-clothed woman's eyes were full of contempt. The red-clothed youth and the other four also sneered. As for Qin Feiyang, other than shock, there was nothing else in his heart. The Dominator's divine realm. Even a heaven-defying divine artifact couldn't break it. How could there be such a terrifying barrier in the world? I don't believe it. Axe, broken sword, split it. Qin Feiyang shouted. Clang. The axe and broken sword attacked the barrier at the same time. Longzuan and the 6 ancestral dragons had no intention of stopping them. Their eyes were full of mockery. Boom! The two heaven-defying divine artifacts slammed into the barrier. However, the barrier didn't even budge, let alone break. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He shouted, "Release the seal completely." Clang! The axe trembled violently in the void, instantly releasing a destructive aura. The entire inland sea began to collapse and sink. All of the sea beasts were howling in pain. However, Qin Feiyang was unscathed under the protection of Sir Rust. Seeing this, the 6 ancestor dragons flew to Long Zun's side and took out their heaven-defying weapons to protect Long Zun and themselves. The internal sea had fallen into a calamity. The sea beasts continued to lose their lives. Clang! Once again, the axe chopped towards the enchantment. A loud bang sounded, but the enchantment was still the same as before. It didn't move at all. It's true, even a heaven-defying divine artifact can't break it, Qin Feiyang murmured. He couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. As long as the sovereign's divine realm was not broken, he was like a turtle in a jar, isolated and helpless. Are you in despair? Long Zun spoke at this time. His words were bone-chilling. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Zun. The panic in his eyes could not be concealed. Yes. At this moment, he was unprecedentedly flustered. Originally, he was full of confidence that even if the ancestor dragons and Long Zun were to attack, he would have no problem protecting himself and escaping. However, he never expected that the dragons had such a terrifying trump card. Long Zun said, "Don't you have a space-time transmission artifact? Why don't you give it a try?" "Yes. I still have the space-time gate." Qin Feiyang immediately took out the space-time gate. Long Zun and the 6 ancestor dragons still had no intention of stopping him. The blood-red youth even crossed his arms and looked at Qin Feiyang with a mocking expression. What? When the divine power poured into the space-time gate, Qin Feiyang's expression froze again. He couldn't open the space-time gate. To him, this was simply a piece of fatal news. Daring to enter the Inner Sea, the space-time gate was his greatest reliance. But now, even the space-time gate couldn't be opened. Wasn't this completely without a way out? "I'm going to find the Beast Emperor, you guys kill him." Long Zun said to the 6 ancestor dragons and rushed into the sky. He actually left the sovereign divine realm without being affected at all. She can leave? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course, Lord Longzun can. Not only Lord Longzun, we can also freely enter and exit the sovereign divine realm. But it's only limited to Lord Longzun and the 10 ancestor dragons. For example, the clan leaders and elders of the dragons can't enter and exit the sovereign divine realm, let alone a human like you. The white-clothed woman sneered. Only Longzun and the 10 ancestor dragons can freely enter and exit the sovereign divine realm, Qin Feiyang whispered. There was indeed no way out. Not to mention that Hua Yi and the others still didn't know the situation here, even if they knew and rushed to the inner sea, they couldn't help him. Wait. He couldn't let Hua Yi and the others come. Because he couldn't leave the sovereign divine realm, but Longzun and the 6 ancestor dragons could. If Hua Yi and the others rushed over and exposed their identities, Longzun and the 6 ancestor dragons would definitely not let them go. And with the strength of Longzun and the 6 ancestor dragons, killing them was as easy as flipping their hands. Because now, the heaven-defying divine artifact was in his hands. But he also knew. If he didn't return, Hua Yi and the others would definitely come to the inner sea to check the situation. So, he had to break the sovereign divine realm and escape before Hua Yi and the others finished their operation. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang slowly closed his eyes. Are you so desperate that you want to give up resisting? We dragons rule the ancient world and hold great power. All living things must worship us. You dare to go against us dragons? You're courting death. The white-clothed woman coldly shouted. Looking at the snow-white thin sword in her hand, she shouted, "Release the seal." Clang! The thin sword trembled slightly, and a monstrous aura immediately erupted. Seeing this, the broken sword and axe uniformly blocked in front of Qin Feiyang. Under the control of the axe's artifact spirit, the multicolored rust condensed into a multicolored battle armor that covered Qin Feiyang's body. Qin Feiyang, I know that you must be a little flustered now, but you have to remember, the more dangerous it is, the calmer you have to be. The axe's spirit secretly shouted. Qin Feiyang still closed his eyes and turned a deaf ear. But if one looked carefully, the nervous expression between his eyebrows had calmed down a lot. We can't be idle. The blood-red clothed youth glanced at the white-clothed woman, turned his head to look at the other 4, and laughed. Clang! A blood-red short blade appeared in front of him, and a monstrous evil aura suddenly surged out like a volcanic eruption. The other 4 looked at each other and smiled. Clang! 4 divine artifacts appeared at the same time. They were a brass shield, a 3-meter-long iron whip, a 3-foot-long black iron rod, and a bronze halberd. Release the seal. As soon as the 4 divine artifacts appeared, the 4 of them roared in unison. Clang! Clang! The 4 divine artifacts immediately shook in the void, and a thunderous sound was produced. Then, 4 streaks of terrifying divine might rolled out crazily in the sky above the sea area. Heaven-defying divine artifacts. 6 ancestor dragons, 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. This was a terrifying lineup, and it could easily destroy the entire ancient world. Go to hell. The 6 ancestor dragons looked at each other and roared at the same time. The 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts immediately carried an aura of destruction, and they immediately attacked Qin Feiyang, the axe, and the broken sword. At the same time, outside the boundary, in the sky above, Longzun appeared again, and beside him was a young man in a red robe. This young man looked to be in his 20s, and he was about 1.8 meters tall. Not only was he wearing a red robe, but his long hair was also like flames, dancing in the wind behind him. Is that him? The young man in the red robe looked at Qin Feiyang below and asked with a smile. Yes. Longzun nodded. Although it's my first time seeing him, it's not difficult to see that he's indeed a dragon among men. The young man in the red robe smiled. You're not allowed to use the term dragon among men to describe humans. This is the greatest humiliation to us dragons. Long Zun said. The young man in the red robe was stunned and shook his head. It's just an adjective, you're too serious. Long Zun raised his eyebrows and said, I don't want to say it again. Okay. I'll pay attention to my words in the future. The young man in the red robe nodded helplessly. And just as the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts were about to attack Qin Feiyang, the axe, and the broken sword, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes. In his eyes, there was no longer the panic from before. It was as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Since he couldn't avoid it, he would face it head-on. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, including the sunset bow, appeared. He said lightly, release the seal. Boom! The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts heard this and directly released the seal. Together with the broken sword and the axe, they attacked the 6 ancestral dragons' heaven-defying divine artifacts. Damn it! As soon as the 6 ancestral dragons saw the sunset bow and the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts, their eyes were suddenly filled with rage. Outside the boundary, Long Zun's face shrouded in mist was also full of anger. The young man in the red robe also looked surprised. These 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts actually really submitted to Qin Feiyang? The young man in the red robe looked at Qin Feiyang again with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. First, Feng Daji did not hesitate to self-destruct in order to save him. Now, the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts turned to Qin Feiyang and did not hesitate to attack their former companions. What kind of charm does this little guy have? At the same time, Qin Feiyang also felt that someone was spying on him. When he looked up and saw the young man in the red robe, the first thing he thought of was Hua Yi. But after taking a closer look, only the clothes and hair were somewhat similar. The appearance was completely different. But who was this person? Wait. Long Zun just said that he was going to find the Beast Emperor. Could this young man be the Beast Emperor who ruled the Internal Sea? According to the 5-clawed golden dragon, this Beast Emperor had a cultivation base that was not inferior to Yi Zhong and the ancestral dragons. And he also had a supreme divine artifact that could teleport time and space. It seemed that it would not be easy to win this battle. However, this kind of battle must be won. Not only for himself, but also for Fire Lotus and the others. Chapter 2507. Boom! 12 heaven-defying divine artifacts collided. A destructive aura roared in all directions. However, even so, the sovereign divine realm did not move. It was indestructible. Sunset divine bow, what is the meaning of this? An angry roar sounded. The short blade that came from the blood-red clothed youth was filled with a vicious aura that could not be dispersed. Isn't it obvious? We are no longer in the same camp. We each serve our own masters. The sunset divine bow said. Is a mere Qin Feiyang qualified for you to serve? Short blade shouted. I used to think the same as you, but when I really understood Qin Feiyang, I realized that Long Zun is no match for him at all. The sunset divine bow said. Short blade said in a deep voice, it seems that we have to fight to the death. Then don't talk nonsense, let's fight. As soon as the sunset divine bow's voice fell, an arrow condensed out of flames, carrying a destructive aura, shot toward Short blade. Clang! Short blade's edge was also monstrous, madly attacking. The void here was directly smashed into chaos. Qin Feiyang, the armor formed by rust is enough to block the fluctuations of our battle. You must find a way to break the sovereign divine realm. The axe's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind, and then it also erupted with a destructive aura, attacking the thin sword. A chaotic battle began. This was a battle of heaven-defying divine artifacts, and no one could interfere. They had all unsealed and were evenly matched. However, the broken sword was an exception. Because the broken sword's seal was different from the Sunset Divine Bow and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts. The Sunset Divine Bow and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts were self-sealed and could be unsealed at any time. But the broken sword's seal was imposed by an outsider. It had no way to break this seal by itself. The broken sword's opponent was the bronze halberd. Facing the fully recovered bronze halberd, the broken sword did not seem to have much power to fight back and was defeated. All of this. Qin Feiyang saw it all. If this continued, the one who lost in the end would definitely be him. Huff. Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang looked at the broken sword and said, "Hold on." As soon as he finished speaking, he resolutely turned around and executed the movement character formula as he flashed towards the distant sea. "Where do you think you're going?" Seeing this, the 6 ancestral dragons roared and charged towards Qin Feiyang. Whether it was cultivation or speed, they were far superior to Qin Feiyang. In the blink of an eye, the 6 of them had caught up to Qin Feiyang and surrounded him. Of course, they knew what Qin Feiyang was going to do. Activate the slaughter domain. Knowing the might of the slaughter domain, they naturally wouldn't give Qin Feiyang this opportunity. "Are you that afraid of me activating my slaughter domain?" Qin Feiyang sneered. "Cut the crap and die." The blood-red-clothed teenager slapped at Qin Feiyang. When he thought of the grievances he had suffered during this period of time, the anger in his heart could not be suppressed. Divine power surged out. The young man was like a devil god, and he was filled with a monstrous baleful aura and vicious aura. Boom! His palm slapped on Qin Feiyang's armor. Puff! Qin Feiyang's body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he took a few steps back. Although the armor was formed from the rust of the axe, compared to the axe itself, the rust didn't seem that strong. However, it also helped Qin Feiyang block the power of the palm, so his life wasn't in danger. But just as Qin Feiyang retreated, the white-clothed woman standing behind him also slapped at Qin Feiyang's back. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out another mouthful of blood and staggered forward. The other ancestral dragon standing in front of Qin Feiyang also immediately attacked. Facing the 6 ancestral dragons, he didn't have the strength to fight back at all. Like a ball, he was sandwiched in the middle by the 6 ancestral dragons and kicked around. "I'd like to see how long your armor can last." An old woman shouted and kicked Qin Feiyang's body. This old woman was wearing a long green robe. Her wrinkled face was filled with hostility. She was the ancestral dragon of the wood dragon race. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything from the beginning to the end and looked at the 6 of them gloomily. In the distance, the battle of the 12 heaven-defying legendary weapons had also entered a climax. However, in comparison, the broken sword seemed to be in a sorry state. Qin Feiyang glanced at the broken sword before looking at the 6 ancestral dragons again and smiled sinisterly. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Qin Feiyang disappeared. The 6 ancestral dragons were shocked. Was he going to reveal the ancient castle? Longzuan raised his brows as well and his eyes emitted a milky white light. Immediately, he saw the ancient castle in the void. The 6 ancestral dragons looked up at Longzuan with killing intent in their eyes and shouted, "Sir, lead us into the ancient castle." However, Longzuan didn't respond. Because she didn't know that the ancient castle was sealed, she wasn't confident. Swoosh! However, it was only for a moment. Qin Feiyang appeared again. The battle armor formed by rust was still there. He wore a battle sword and stood in the killing zone, holding a blood-colored sword in his hand. How is it so fast? The 6 ancestral dragons were surprised. Is it surprising that the ancient castle has a 1 day and 100 years time array? Qin Feiyang sneered. He slashed at the blood-robed youth. What? 1 day and 100 years. The 6 ancestral dragons were dumbfounded. Longzuan and the youth in red were also shocked. Ah, the blood-colored sword arrived and the blood-robed youth screamed as his body was cut in half on the spot. Blood splattered across the sky. A blood dragon immediately materialized. This was the true body of the blood-robed youth, a blood dragon. Although this blood is only enough to activate the second stage, it's more than enough to kill you. Qin Feiyang whispered and slashed at the white-robed woman again. Retreat. The white-robed woman shuddered and immediately took the blood-robed youth's body out of the sovereign divine realm. The other 4 ancestral dragons also didn't dare to delay and escaped from the sovereign divine realm. They stood beside Longzuan and stared at Qin Feiyang in horror. So this is the killing zone, even the ancestral dragons can't fight back. It's indeed worthy of its reputation. The youth in red whispered. So what? No matter how powerful the killing zone is, it can't break the sovereign divine realm. Such a heaven-defying technique must have its flaws, such as a time limit. Once the time is up, killing him will be as easy as flipping my hand. Longzuan said indifferently and waved his hand. A milky white divine light entered the blood dragon's body and the body that was cut in half began to heal. That's right. Qin Feiyang, if you can break the sovereign divine realm, come out and kill us. If you can't break it, then we have all the time to waste with you. The white-robed woman looked down at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Qin Feiyang ignored her and Longzuan and turned to look at the broken sword. Although the broken sword was still fighting tenaciously, there were many cracks on the blade. There were also a few cracks on the sword. Blood. I need a large amount of blood. Qin Feiyang suddenly roared and a terrifying suction force erupted from his body. Suddenly, a strong wind whistled in the void. Blood from the sea in the distance flowed toward them like a river of blood. However, at this moment, Longzuan took a step into the sovereign divine realm and pointed at the sky. The river of blood immediately turned into nothingness in the void. Do you think I'll give you a chance to absorb blood? Longzuan looked coldly at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang wasn't surprised. Because when the 6 ancestral dragons descended, he had already expected such an outcome. The confrontation of the 12 heaven-defying divine weapons had almost killed all the sea beasts in the inner sea. The entire inner sea had turned into a sea of blood. For Qin Feiyang, it was a treasure. However, Longzuan and the 6 ancestral dragons who had seen the power of the slaughter domain would definitely not let him get what he wanted. In other words, faced with the boundless blood, he could only watch helplessly. Although he had expected this, he was still very disappointed. Because this undoubtedly forced him into a desperate situation. Without blood, without a heaven-defying divine weapon, what can you do? You can't do anything, you can only watch the broken sword shatter. The ancestral dragons kept mocking him. As his voice fell, the broken sword suddenly broke into 2 pieces. The originally bright purple-gold divine light also dimmed immediately. Clang! After the broken sword, the bronze halberd immediately rushed toward Qin Feiyang. No one can hurt him. Fu Tu roared and forcibly unsheathed his thin sword, blocking in front of Qin Feiyang and slashing at the bronze halberd. Clang! Sparks flew and the bronze halberd was sent flying. But in the next moment, the bronze halberd and the thin sword joined forces and attacked Fu Tu. Fu Tu met the attack without fear. What can I do? Qin Feiyang muttered. The broken sword broke to protect him. Fu Tu also faced two heaven-defying divine weapons alone to protect him. But what about him? He could only stand here and watch. He couldn't help at all. No. This wasn't how Qin Feiyang should behave. He had encountered so many powerful opponents, but he didn't admit defeat. This time, he wouldn't admit defeat either. Swish! Qin Feiyang clenched his hands and appeared in the sky above the Devil's Land. Boom! Waves of rule force fell from the sky, turning into thousands of strands and shrouding the entire Black Tortoise world. What's that? The creatures of the Black Tortoise world, whether they were humans or beasts, all looked at the sky in surprise. I am Qin Feiyang. I believe everyone is no stranger to me. But there is one thing that many of you don't know. A long time ago, I was the master of the Black Tortoise world. That's right. I am the master of the Black Tortoise world, and all of you are my people. Everything you have was given to you by me. Like the divine treasures of the Desert of Death. Like the divine items and treasures of the various forbidden lands. Now, I have encountered a powerful enemy. I hope you can help me. I need a large amount of blood. Please raise your hands. Qin Feiyang spoke. His sincere voice was transmitted into the minds of every creature in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang? The master of our Black Tortoise world. You're joking, right? At this moment, all creatures in the Black Tortoise world were shocked. In the sky above a city. Two figures flew out from the city. They were Pai Lupi and Theta Wang. The two stood above the city, looking at the Devil's Land, their eyes filled with shock. What does he need blood for? There's such a powerful enemy? How powerful is this enemy that can make him so helpless? The two were puzzled. Please, everyone. Qin Feiyang's voice once again rang in the minds of countless creatures. Master, how much blood do you need? We will give it to you. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other, then raised their hands and shouted at the people in the city, everyone, raise your hands. Thank you. Qin Feiyang muttered. When he spoke earlier, he had already released his perception. Therefore, he saw everything that Pai Lupi and Theta Wang did. Strands of the power of laws fell, cutting Pai Lupi and Theta Wang's wrists. Blood immediately gushed out. Chapter 2508. Under Pai Lupi's lead, the people in the city also raised their hands one after another. When the law fell, wounds appeared on everyone's wrists. Blood gushed out uncontrollably, gathering in the Devil's Land. However, only the people in that city raised their hands. The people and beasts in other places thought about it and ignored it. I could have killed you all like last time and snatched your blood. But I didn't do that because I respect you. Please give me some trust. I don't need all of your blood, just half. Qin Feiyang's voice sounded again. These words reminded many of the people in the Black Tortoise world of the past. That time. When the law power descended, all the living beings died. But later, Qin Feiyang used a heaven-defying ability to resurrect them. They still remembered these things. Qin Feiyang is the ruler of our Black Tortoise world. How can we not help him when he's in trouble? Moreover, he gave us so many divine items. In another city, an old man stood in the sky and looked down at the people in the city below. Do you think that if the ruler dies, we'll be able to stay out of trouble? Let me tell you, that's impossible. The ruler is already benevolent. What else do you want? In a deep mountain, a burly man looked at the beasts around him and roared. If we want the Black Tortoise world to be safe, we must help the ruler. Trust me. The ruler is worthy of your help. Do you see the law power? If the ruler wants to, he can kill us all in an instant. Don't be so tactless. People in various places of the Black Tortoise world stood up and called for help. They were the 10 people who had been brought into the Devil's Land by the fire lotus and consumed the Chaos Divine Pill. They had seen Qin Feiyang before. They knew of Qin Feiyang's strength and that Qin Feiyang had terrifying divine artifacts and experts by his side. And now, Qin Feiyang was actually asking for help from the beings of the Black Tortoise world. One could imagine how much trouble he was in. "All right, we believe him. Raise your hands." Gradually, the living beings of the Black Tortoise world began to respond. The humans raised their hands high, while the beasts raised their claws high. "Thank you," Qin Feiyang murmured. Strands of rule force fell, and every living being in the Black Tortoise world had a wound on their body. Waves of blood soared into the sky, enveloping the heaven and earth. After fusing with the ancient castle, the Black Tortoise realm's time law became 1 day, 100 years. Now, it had already developed for hundreds of thousands of years. After so many years, whether it was the number of living beings or their cultivation bases, they had both increased by more than 10 times, or even dozens of times. Therefore, Qin Feiyang no longer needed to exterminate the Black Tortoise world. Everyone only needed to contribute half of their blood. In addition to his current state, it was enough for him to upgrade his slaughter domain to the 3rd stage. At this moment, the blood from all directions gathered into a sea of blood, continuously pouring into the Devil's Land. Qin Feiyang was drowned in blood. "Thank you, everyone, I will not forget your help today. I promise everyone that in the near future, I will give the entire Black Tortoise world a great fortune." Qin Feiyang's grateful voice once again sounded in the minds of all living beings. "Mother, is this Lord Qin Feiyang really the ruler of our Black Tortoise world?" In a small mountain village, a 7 or 8-year-old child raised his head to look at a woman beside him and asked, "I don't know." "Then how do you know whether he's lying to us or not?" "He won't lie to us. Because after the last catastrophe, Mother saw him revive everyone with her own eyes." "Child, you raise your hand too." A woman raised her hand while rubbing the boy's hand and smiled. "Okay." The boy also raised his hand. In the blink of an eye. As the blood continued to pour in, the power of the blood-colored sword erupted like a volcano, crazily rising. This killing intent, this aura, alarmed all living beings in the Black Tortoise world. "This is the power of our blood?" Everyone was surprised. So their blood had such an ability. Clang! About 100 breaths passed. The aura of the blood-colored sword suddenly rose to another level. The 3rd stage. However, Qin Feiyang had been suppressing the destructive power. Because if he didn't suppress it, the Black Tortoise world would be destroyed. At this moment, because they had lost too much blood, the living beings in the Black Tortoise world were pale and weak. Many of them had fainted. "Enough, thank you," Qin Feiyang muttered as the power of laws dissipated. With a thought, the blood that filled the sky suddenly turned into a torrent and merged into the killing zone. Immediately after, without any delay, he took a step forward and appeared in the sky above the inner sea. Outside, only a moment had passed. Qin Feiyang didn't suppress it anymore and the power of the blood-colored sword erupted. What? Long Zun and the others' faces changed. This power, how did it become so much stronger? Where did he find the blood? The Black Tortoise world is an independent world. Do you think that by stopping me from absorbing the blood here, you can win? Let me tell you. I am not fighting alone, there are thousands of living beings behind me. Qin Feiyang roared as he rushed to the side of the axe and slashed at the bronze halberd. Clang! The blood-colored sword and the bronze halberd collided. The bronze halberd was immediately sent flying and a gap appeared on the blade. However, Qin Feiyang was also forced back. The battle armor formed by rust on his body also nearly collapsed. It can't be. It can actually fight against a heaven-defying artifact with its seal unlocked? The youth in fiery clothes was dumbfounded. This killing zone was too heaven-defying. Kill. Qin Feiyang looked at the axe and his blood-colored hair fluttered as he directly clashed with the bronze halberd. Long Zun, are you surprised? Ha, this is Qin Feiyang. The weapon spirit of the axe laughed wildly as it charged at the thin sword. Clang! The broken sword that had been broken into two once again rushed toward Qin Feiyang. It was as if it was telling Qin Feiyang that it could still fight. Qin Feiyang glanced at the broken sword, then glanced at the axe, sunset divine bow, and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts. The blood in his body couldn't help but boil as he laughed heartily. Today, let us slaughter our way to the heavens and make the entire divine prefecture tremble beneath our feet. Boom! The power of the blood-colored sword was still increasing. Because there was still a lot of blood in the killing zone that had not been absorbed. What kind of young man is this? The youth in fiery clothes murmured. In the face of such a desperate situation, he could still pull himself together and fight while bathed in blood. Did you notice? The power of his blood-colored sword is still increasing. The green-robed old woman transformed from wood dragon ancestor dragon gloomily stared at the blood-colored sword in Qin Feiyang's hand. Because there is still blood in the killing zone. If this continues, I'm afraid the scene in the Star River will happen again. The white-robed woman said in a deep voice. Whether it was Longzuan or the other ancestor dragons, they could not help but feel a chill when they thought of the scene in the Star River. Longzuan suddenly said, "But don't you think it's strange?" "What's strange?" The youth in fiery clothes and the other ancestor dragons were suspicious. Longzuan said, "Until now, the ancient castle has not made a move." Yes. If the ancient castle is so strong, why hasn't it made a move? Could there be a problem? The other ancestor dragons were puzzled. Actually, you have overlooked an important point, and that is the Black Tortoise World. Just now, Qin Feiyang said that the Black Tortoise World is an independent world, and there are thousands of living beings in it. The youth in fiery clothes said. You really believe that? Someone like him deserves an independent world? The other ancestor dragon sneered. The youth in Hua Yi said, but look at him, he's not joking. The great ancestor dragon looked at Qin Feiyang. Was he really not joking? An independent world, if that was the case, then wouldn't this kid be the ruler of a world? Even they, the dragons, did not have this kind of glory. Longzuan clenched his fists and said word by word, today, he must die. The other ancestor dragons also nodded. Below. The battle became more and more intense. Qin Feiyang's whole body was spurting blood. And the blood that flowed out of his body was also absorbed by the blood-colored sword. All the heaven-defying artifacts, whether it was Qin Feiyang's side or the dragon's side, were also full of scars. Finally, the blood in the killing field was all absorbed by the blood-colored sword. The power of the blood-colored sword had indeed become a little stronger, but it was not obvious. However, in a battle of this level, being a little stronger could also play a key role. The bronze halberd that was fighting with Qin Feiyang was also more and more shocked. What kind of young man was this? Where did he get such a heaven-defying artifact from? No matter how strong you are, you won't be a match for this sovereign. Because this sovereign has already unlocked the seal. The bronze halberd spirit said contemptuously, and a black energy burst out. Qin Feiyang's eyes instantly fell into darkness. And not only his vision, he felt that his hearing, perception, and so on were also gradually disappearing. Qin Feiyang was surprised and did not hesitate to slash with his sword, but the blood-colored sword was unable to split the black energy. Die. The bronze halberd took the opportunity to kill Qin Feiyang. And it was also at this moment that the axe swept to Qin Feiyang's side, and a five-colored force gushed out. When this five-colored force appeared, the black energy automatically disappeared. Qin Feiyang's vision, hearing, and perception were restored. Looking at the bronze halberd, he did not hesitate to hold the blood-colored sword and slashed out. Clang! The two retreated again. The bronze halberd immediately shouted at the axe, "Don't meddle in other people's business." Humph! The axe coldly snorted, and said, "Qin Feiyang, this is the power of its law of darkness, it can seal the sensory ability of the five senses." The power of law? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. After unlocking the seal, the heaven-defying artifact's power of law is extremely terrifying, your blood sword can't break it. Be careful. Fu Tu warned and continued to fight with the thin sword. Chapter 2509. The Power of Law. Qin Feiyang looked at the bronze halberd. Although he still did not understand the power of law, he believed that no power in the world could be invincible. "I won't give that broken axe a second chance to help you." The bronze halberd roared, and the power of law appeared again. Qin Feiyang's senses were sealed again. Qin Feiyang simply closed his eyes. The power of law could seal his senses, but it could not seal his heart. Slowly feel, slowly capture, he would definitely be able to capture it. Let's see who can save you this time. The bronze halberd shone brightly, like a graceful swan, and shot towards Qin Feiyang's forehead. And all of this. Qin Feiyang was not aware of it at all. Beside his ears and in front of his eyes, there was only dead silence. However, in this state, Qin Feiyang seemed to understand some truths. Darkness only blinded the eyes. And what the eyes saw might not be true. Illusion, illusion. Heart. The heart was the brightest pair of eyes of all living things in the boundless universe. The heart was clear, and nothing could deceive you. As long as the heart was not confused, and there was no despair, then it would definitely be able to push aside the darkness and see the light. And this light was not the light that the eyes saw, but the light of dawn that belonged to one's heart, the light of hope. Suddenly, inside the black power that enveloped Qin Feiyang, a ray of light emerged. The light was very weak, almost invisible to the naked eye. But at this moment, the world seemed to have fallen into a dead silence. Whether it was Long Zun and the others who dominated the god's realm, or the major heaven-defying artifacts, they all looked at Qin Feiyang. What was that ray of light? With justice in the heart, the light of a firefly can also illuminate the world. Qin Feiyang's voice sounded. The light became brighter and brighter. Finally, a dazzling divine light tore apart the black power and burst out. As long as there is dawn in the heart, darkness can't cover the heart. Qin Feiyang's voice became louder and louder, like the sound of heaven rolling in the inner sea. As long as the heart has courage, light will dispel all darkness. Light, like a raging fire. Light, like the righteous energy. Light, like a bright lamp, illuminates life. Light is the foundation of the universe. It guides all things in the world and steps on the path forward. His voice grew louder and louder as it reverberated in the void, seeming somewhat ethereal. Yes. Where there is darkness, there is light. Light is the indelible flame of hope in the hearts of all beings in the world. The last sentence was like a thunderclap that exploded in the sky above the inner sea. The light within the black energy instantly soared to a terrifying degree. It was like a scorching sun, making Long Zun and the others unable to look directly at it. Thank you for allowing me to understand the mysteries of light through the law of darkness. This should be the law of light, right? Qin Feiyang took a step forward. The light converged and turned into a thumb-sized flame that floated in his palm. The flames were pure white and exuded a holy aura. Moreover, it also contained an invisible will. What? He actually, Long Zun and the others stared at the flame in Qin Feiyang's palm in disbelief. The weapon spirits of the 12 heaven-defying artifacts were also extremely shocked. He had actually used the law of darkness to comprehend the law of light. This was too unbelievable. A mere peerless god could comprehend the law of light? This was not a joke. Setting aside the heaven-defying artifacts, the people here included Long Zun, the Beast Emperor, and the 6 ancestor dragons. Their cultivation levels had all stepped into the imperishable realm. But apart from Long Zun, who else could comprehend the law of light? To the living beings of the world, the law of light was a power that surpassed everything. It was an unattainable dream. But now, they had personally witnessed a young man who was much weaker than them comprehending the law of light. Just how terrifying is this boy's talent, comprehension, and potential? Is this why the Sunset Bao and the others chose to follow him? The fiery-robed youth murmured. A mere peerless god had actually comprehended the law of light. How shocking was this? This boy was indeed the greatest threat to the dragons. Lord Long Zun, you must kill him. This boy cannot be left alive. At all costs. The 6 ancestor dragons roared. The young man in red had also recovered from his injuries. He looked at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. Phew! Long Zun exhaled deeply. He lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said, Qin Feiyang, you really amaze me time and time again. Qin Feiyang looked up at Long Zun and waited for him to continue. Long Zun said, Come, my dragons. I will bestow upon you supreme glory. I will also make the decision to betroth my daughter to you. What? The 6 ancestor dragons and the fiery-robed youth looked at Long Zun in shock. The weapon spirits of the 12 heaven-defying artifacts were also in disbelief. Betrothing the princess of the dragons to Qin Feiyang? This was a great honor for the humans of the ancient realm. They never thought that Long Zun would value Qin Feiyang so much. Qin Feiyang was also stunned. He originally thought that Long Zun would kill him at all costs to prevent future troubles. But unexpectedly, he actually wanted him to join the dragons. He even married his own daughter to him. If he agreed, wouldn't he become Long Zun's son-in-law? Becoming Long Zun's son-in-law meant that he would be second only to one person and above tens of thousands of people. This kind of good thing, who knows how many people wanted it. If it were someone else, they probably wouldn't even think about it and directly nodded their head in agreement. And you don't have to sign the fate contract. Of course, I also know that the fate contract can't bind you. Long Zun said again. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and looked down at the white flame in his hand. With a thought, the flame entered his sea of consciousness and floated beside his divine soul. Then he looked up at the dragons again and shook his head, Your daughter's body is priceless. I'm afraid I'm not worthy of her. Long Zun immediately frowned. Qin Feiyang said again, But what? Long Zun asked. If the dragons can give up ruling the ancient realm and live in a corner, we can be friends. Qin Feiyang said. If they could solve all the problems in such a peaceful way, that would naturally be the best. Impossible. The ancient realm must be ruled by the dragons. Long Zun said resolutely. Qin Feiyang shook his head in disappointment and said, Then there's no room for discussion, let's fight. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and took the initiative to attack the bronze halberd. The axe, sunset bow, and other heaven-defying artifacts also attacked their respective opponents. The battle began again. Clang! The blood-colored sword and the bronze halberd collided, and the destructive aura was earth-shattering. Qin Feiyang shouted, Let me experience the power of your law of darkness again. What are you being arrogant for? Your law of darkness is just at the threshold. The bronze halberd roared, and the law of darkness emerged again. But this time, The darkness could no longer blind his eyes, nor could it seal his senses. Although it's just at the threshold, it's not comparable to a divine artifact like you who relied on others to obtain the law of darkness. Qin Feiyang waved the blood-colored sword and constantly collided with the bronze halberd. The sparks from the collision were as brilliant as fireworks. Clang! Suddenly, a crack appeared on the bronze halberd. How is this possible? The bronze halberd's artifact spirit was shocked. Can't you see it? The power of the blood sword is a little stronger than yours. Although it's just a little, as long as you give me time, I'll destroy you sooner or later. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Damn it! The bronze halberd's artifact spirit was furious to the extreme. As a heaven-defying artifact, it was forced to such an extent by a human with only the cultivation of a god. It was simply a great shame. Clang! At this moment, a crack appeared on the thin sword that had clashed with the axe. How could this be? The sword's artifact spirit turned pale with fright. Sorry, but my strength has now surpassed yours. As Qin Feiyang said, although it's only a little, as long as I have enough time, I'll destroy you sooner or later. The axe's artifact spirit sneered. Impossible. A heaven-defying artifact can become stronger? The sword's artifact spirit roared. Boom! Clang! Before its voice died away, the yellow shield, the 3-meter-long iron whip, the blood-colored dagger, and the 3-foot-long iron rod, these 4 divine artifacts, under the indiscriminate bombardment of the sunset divine bow and the other 3 heaven-defying artifacts, had a crack one after another. How could this be? The artifact spirits roared in disbelief. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, "Isn't it simple? Because we've all become stronger." Impossible. How long have you been following Qin Feiyang? Besides, what ability does he have to make you stronger? The bronze halberd's artifact spirit roared. Huh, didn't you hear that the Black Tortoise world lasts 100 years and is an independent world? In the thousands of years in the Black Tortoise world, we've been cultivating in the land of origin. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit laughed. The land of origin. The artifact spirits exclaimed. The land of origin, since there's a land of origin, it means that the Black Tortoise world is really an independent world. The fiery-robed youth muttered. Hearing this, the 6 ancestral dragons' bodies and minds trembled. An independent world, how could this little bastard's luck be so good? A terrifying slaughter domain, an independent world, and that shocking talent and comprehension. Why did the heavens like him so much? All the good things were given to him. How about it? Do you guys want to join Qin Feiyang as well? I guarantee that you'll be able to enter the land of origin. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said to the sword and the other 4 heaven-defying artifacts. The 6 heaven-defying artifact spirits fell silent. To these heaven-defying divine artifacts, the land of origin was an irresistible question. Lord Dragon Sovereign, quickly think of a way, or they'll betray us. Seeing this, the white-robed woman hurriedly shouted. The blood-robed youth and the other 4 were also extremely anxious. The betrayal of the 4 heaven-defying artifacts, including the sunset divine bow, was already a great loss to the dragons. If even the sword and the other 4 heaven-defying artifacts betrayed them, then the dragons would really suffer a great loss. This was because a heaven-defying divine artifact could play an absolute role in any force. Chapter 25:10. However, Long Zun remained silent. But at the same time, hearing the words of the sunset divine bow spirit, Qin Feiyang's heart couldn't help but move. If these 6 heaven-defying artifacts also betrayed the dragons, that would be a great thing for him. Because in this way, the dragons wouldn't even have a single heaven-defying artifact in the future. The strength of the dragons would plummet, while his strength would skyrocket. Qin Feiyang said, I promise, as long as you abandon the dark and join the light, I promise to let you enter the land of Source. What he said was undoubtedly more convincing than what the Sunset Divine Bao's spirit said. Because he was the master of the Black Tortoise realm. When the 6 heaven-defying artifacts heard this, they became more and more tempted. The axe artifact spirit also said, this opportunity knocks but once. You must think it through. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted. Qin Feiyang was shocked and raised his head to look at Long Zun. In front of this sovereign, you instigated them to betray this sovereign. It seems that you really don't put this sovereign in your eyes. For the last time, this sovereign will ask you one more time, do you want to join my dragons? Long Zun lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said coldly. If our paths are different, we can't work together. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Long Zun's killing intent suddenly surged. He raised his head to look at the divine dragon island and said sincerely, please kill this child. Boom! His voice fell. Accompanied by a loud explosion, a milky white divine light swept out from the sacred mountain. Whoosh! The divine light contained a world-destroying divine power, shattering the sky and rushing over like lightning. Qin Feiyang's face suddenly sank. Because at this moment, he clearly felt that there was a terrifying aura firmly locked onto him. What is this? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The 12 law-defying artifacts stopped fighting too. They trembled slightly as if they were trembling in fear. Not good. This aura. It has already surpassed the heaven-defying artifact. The axe spirit exclaimed. What? Surpassed the heaven-defying artifact? Isn't that a sovereign weapon? Qin Feiyang felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue, his mind rumbling. The divine dragon island actually hit a sovereign divine weapon? But how was that possible? The sovereign divine weapon was a peerless divine weapon that only the creator gods were qualified to possess. As for the dragons, although they were powerful, they could only dominate the ancient realm. How could they possibly have sovereign divine weapons? Could it be, suddenly? A terrifying thought emerged in Qin Feiyang's mind. Is this god of creation also one of the dragons? No. If Wu Tian really belonged to the dragons, why would he give him the ancient castle, Changshui, and the 6 words divine formula? Wasn't this the same as nurturing his own enemies? Even a god of creation wouldn't do such a thing to benefit others at his own expense. Qin Feiyang, run! The axe spirit roared. Qin Feiyang quivered and came back to his senses, but when he looked around, his eyes were full of confusion. The internal sea was sealed by the sovereign divine realm, where could he escape to? Let's try again and see if we can break through the sovereign divine realm. The artifact spirit of the Sunset Divine Bao roared. Kill! The axe spirit shouted coldly. At this moment, the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons, except for the broken sword, were all unsealed. One could imagine how terrifying their combined attack was. And Qin Feiyang also raised the blood-red sword and attacked the sovereign divine realm with the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons. The blood-red sword was no less than a heaven-defying divine weapon, which meant that there were 7 heaven-defying divine weapons. However, even if Qin Feiyang joined in, the sovereign divine realm didn't move at all. It was as indestructible as a rock. The axe spirit roared, what the hell is this barrier? Qin Feiyang looked at the Sunset Divine Bao and the other 4 heaven-defying divine weapons and asked, do you know? We know that the sovereign divine realm came from the sacred mountain, but what is in the sacred mountain? No one knows except for the dragon sovereign. The artifact spirit of the Sunset Divine Bao said. Ancestral dragon doesn't know either? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. Only the dragon sovereign knows. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Qin Feiyang said angrily, since you know about the sovereign divine realm, why didn't you tell me earlier? Because we want to see if you have the ability to break through this sovereign divine realm. But now it's obvious that even you can't do it. The Sunset Divine Bao sighed. Is this a joke? Qin Feiyang was speechless. We're not joking. For you, this is a test. If you can break through the sovereign divine realm, then we will truly believe in you. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Qin Feiyang said, from what you said, you haven't truly submitted to me yet? Yes. The reason we are helping you now is purely because we want to go to the source land. If you want us to truly submit to you and be loyal to you, it won't be that easy. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Qin Feiyang went silent. Indeed. These heaven-defying divine artifact all had heaven-defying abilities. How could it be easy for them to truly submit to a person? Similarly, the meaning of the four heaven-defying divine artifact was also very obvious. As long as he could break through the sovereign divine realm, they would truly submit to him. Break through the sovereign divine realm. Qin Feiyang looked at the sovereign divine realm above and shouted, I need blood, a lot of blood. Blood, the Axe's artifact spirit muttered. Right now, this area had already been destroyed by the battle. There wasn't even a drop of seawater, let alone blood. However, in the other three directions of Divine Dragon Island, there was still a lot of blood and sea beast corpses. Lend him a hand. The Axe's artifact spirit shouted. The divine might rolled out, covering the sky and covering the earth as it surged in all directions. Quick! Right now, he is our only hope. The Sunset Divine Bao's artifact spirit also shouted. The four heaven-defying divine artifact also released their shocking divine might, surging in all directions. The white-clothed woman looked at the six heaven-defying divine artifact and shouted, What are you doing? Hurry up and stop them. The six heaven-defying divine artifact remained silent. Long Zun said, Do you want to be destroyed by the sovereign divine weapon? Hearing this, the six heaven-defying divine artifact immediately trembled, and hurriedly rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the other heaven-defying divine artifact. Seeing this, the Axe's artifact spirit roared, I will do my best to stall them, you guys hurry up. Boom! At that moment, he turned around and charged towards the six great divine artifact, shouting, Although the sovereign divine weapon is powerful, can it compare to the land of origin? Think carefully. The six great divine artifact paused for a moment, then continued to charge towards the axe. The land of origin was indeed very tempting, but facing the sovereign divine weapon, they couldn't help but despair. Boom! Clang! The six heaven-defying divine artifact attacked, and a few cracks appeared on the axe's body. In just one round, it was heavily injured. Withdraw. At the same time, the Sunset Divine Bao's artifact spirit roared. The divine might that was released immediately swept up countless sea beast corpses and blood, surging towards this side. The broken sword and the other three heaven-defying divine artifact were also swept back into a sea of blood. Don't even think about it. The six great ancestor dragons attacked, and their divine power blasted towards the blood like a waterfall. Scram! The Sunset Divine Bao's artifact spirit roared. Whoosh! 6 arrows shot out, and the divine power of the six great ancestor dragons was immediately shattered. Blood flooded the sky and surged over like a huge wave. But at this moment, the divine light that shot out from the divine Dragon Island carried an aura that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth. Not good. The axe's artifact spirit roared, and without hesitation, he threw down the six great divine artifacts and slashed at the divine light with all his might. Clang! Accompanied by a deafening loud sound, the axe's artifact spirit screamed, and its body was torn into pieces. So strong? Qin Feiyang was shocked. The 5-colored armor formed by rust on his body directly collapsed. The 5-colored light also dissipated, turning back into ordinary rust and floating in the void. Too scary. Seeing this, the 6 great divine artifacts couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end, and they hurriedly retreated. Qin Feiyang, this is all we can do. The rest is up to you. Brothers, we chose this path ourselves. It's useless to regret it now. Let's kill. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit sighed, and without hesitation, it charged towards the divine light. Clang! The broken sword, iron fan, iron hammer, and golden longsword also carried a myriad of sharpness as they followed the Sunset Divine Bow, and like moths to a flame, they charged towards the divine bow. Qin Feiyang looked at the back of the 6 great divine artifacts, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. The blood covered the sky and covered the earth. Absorb for me. Qin Feiyang roared towards the sky. A terrifying suction force suddenly spread out with him as the center. His entire body seemed to have turned into a blood-red vortex. The wind howled all around. The corpses of the sea beasts were directly crushed by the wind, and even their flesh and blood were absorbed by the blood-red longsword. Clang! Boom! The blood-red longsword trembled violently. With the influx of flesh and blood, its aura continued to soar. Kill! At this moment, the Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit roared again. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw the Sunset Divine Bow colliding with the divine light. Clang! There was no suspense. The Sunset Divine Bow broke on the spot, and the dazzling divine light quickly dimmed. The broken sword, iron fan, iron hammer, and golden longsword also charged towards the divine light one after another. Without exception. The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were also shattered. Even 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts can't stop it. Qin Feiyang murmured. This was a sovereign divine artifact? It was just a divine light, and it could even crush the heaven-defying divine artifacts that had been unsealed? Boom! After shattering the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts, the divine light didn't stop at all. It shattered the void and charged towards Qin Feiyang. Its aura was also firmly locked onto him. The white-robed woman said, "Even if you get the blood, it's too late." The young man in red and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang with a cold smile on their faces. Sigh. The young man in red sighed. This young man was truly a rare talent. Unfortunately, he had chosen the wrong path and ruined his future. Otherwise, given some time, he would have become a peerless existence like the revered dragon. Too late. Am I really going to die here? I don't want to die like this. Qin Feiyang murmured to himself. If he died here, how could he face the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts? No. I'm not at a dead end yet. Qin Feiyang roared. 2 waves of fire surged out from behind him. Clang! A 9-leaf fire lotus and a crimson battle sword appeared in the void above him. That was right. These were the 2 battle souls that he had overlooked. Back then, they could even block the terrifying ice dragon. A divine light from a sovereign divine artifact would definitely be able to do the same. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.